cool.
This audio is weird. Hey, it's Grant Delpit's birthday.
Nice.
BR mattress.
Yeah. Gross. .606 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane off and running. Brian here with you. Jake Barty producing. We've got a stacked up, and I do mean stacked up, 3 hours. We're covering a lot of ground this morning. We're covering a number of topics. It's fun, like not fun. That's not the right word. It is. It's not the right word though. It's not all COVID all the time anymore. We went for the longest time where it was all COVID all the time. All we could talk about. And then the only thing that could get us off of talking COVID all the time was a named storm. And now we're back to where, hey, we can like branch out and cover a number of other topics as well. And that's exactly what we're doing this morning. We got Condon's Countdown coming up half an hour from right now. Richard Condon pops in every Monday morning to get your week started off right. He'll be firing off at 6:35. I have no idea what he's covering, and that is by design. 6:52, David Aguillard from Catholic Charities is hopping in. Why are we talking with David Aguillard from Catholic Charities at 6:52? Well, I'm happy to tell you. There are 49 Afghan refugees finding a new home in Baton Rouge. Catholic Charities is facilitating that. What do we know? What do we need to know? Is 49 a big number? What should we be on the lookout for? By the way, 49 is a very small number when compared to every other state in the country. In the 7 o'clock hour, we're going to talk Alzheimer's and dementia with Jamie Godin-Fowler from Our Lady of the Lake. That's our Medical Monday segment. We do that every Monday. Stephen Wagerspeck from LABI is hopping on board at 7:35, as he does every single week as well. No shortage of topics right there. We are narrowing down on the upcoming elections for the fall. They all got pushed back because of COVID. Or I'm sorry, not because of COVID, because of Hurricane Ida. So what's on the ballot? Not a whole lot of races to look at, but there are some tax measures that got through the legislative session that are not to the finish line yet. We'll talk with Stephen Wagasbeck about that and a few other things at 7:35. In the 8 o'clock hour, let's talk vaccine mandates. I said it wasn't all COVID all the time, but there will be a little COVID a little bit of the time. State Representative Valorie Hodges has some concerns. You see the push down from President Biden's office. How far down the line is that going to get? How widespread is that going to get? Can we see similar pushdowns for vaccine mandates within the state? And if so, what can the state legislature do to stem them off? Valorie Hodges at 8:15. Then at 8:40, actor Steven Weber is going to hop on board. Actually, full disclosure, this is a pre-recorded interview. Steven Weber is on the cast of Chicago Med. If you've not seen Chicago Med, it is produced by Dick Wolf, just like Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, Law and Order, the entire Law and Order franchise. Dick Wolf, and I bring this up in the interview, is basically the Bill Belichick of television. You don't have to like what he does, but damn, you got to respect how everything he puts out wins. I wouldn't even say Belichick anymore. He's full on Nick Saban now. Anyway, that's at 8:40. Steven Weber, if you're recognizing the name but not knowing where from, if you recall from the 90s, any list of the top 5 TV shows of the 90s has to have Wings on it. I mean, you're going to have Seinfeld, you're going to have Friends. Those are staples. But Wings was up. It's never going to be number 1, but it's always going to be top 5. Steven Weber at 8:40. Right now, we got about, a minute and a half before we have to break, and then we're going to talk sports in our next segment. And I'm sure we're going to talk some sports when Condor hops in here as well, especially with the Saints looking like poo-poo the other day. Since we have about a minute and a half before our next break, I got to talk about Pete Rose. Where's he going with this? I got to talk about Pete Rose. Not the baseball player Pete Rose. I got to look at the tropics real quick. Right now in the Atlantic, we have tropical storms Peter and Rose. Don't shake your head, Jake. That was funny. Pete Rose. We have Tropical Storm Peter and Tropical Storm Rose. Neither one is going to be a threat to us. I just want to mention it because when have you ever seen Peter and Rose lined up there? I don't know if the National Hurricane Center was being funny when putting out names. I'm starting to think they are, because if you ran through this year's list of names, by the way, Peter and Rose both going to peter out in the Atlantic. No pun intended.
Boo.
Yeah, they're just going to go north. It's they're calling them fish storms, basically. They're never necessarily going to. They probably wouldn't have even been named years ago because they're never going to be a threat to anybody on land. But when you see Pete and Rose back to back like that, you have to wonder, was that intentional to have a Pete Rose? Because this year you've also had Anna and Elsa. So you've got Frozen references on the first half of the alphabet, Pete Rose on the back half.
Did that actually happen?
Yes, that actually happened. The first name storm of the year was Anna,
Wow.
then Bill, then Claudette, then Danny, then Elsa. Yeah, we had Anna and Elsa. And it might have gone even deeper if the letters would have stacked up right, because you had to have a woman's name for the C, so you couldn't have Christoph. They had Claudette. And then for O, it was Odette, and they couldn't have Olaf. So, but yeah, tropical storms Pete and Rose are out there right now. Neither one of them is going to be a threat to us. All right, 612, Talk 107.3 FM, maximum sustained winds of 40 miles per hour in both. I don't know why we need to include that. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, let's talk a little LSU football. They look really good. Saints did not. We'll cover them both in just a little bit. Before we take that break, got to ask how you slept last night. It's 6:15, it's 12 minutes after 6 in the morning. If you're up, you still sleepy, or are you bright-eyed and bushy-tailed? If you have a mattress from the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet, more likely you are bright-eyed and bushy-tailed this morning. If you need a new mattress, if you have a lumpy mattress, a worn-out mattress, if you've rotated your mattress so many times that it's just not doing any good anymore, go see the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet, 4065 Florida Boulevard, or the corner of Jefferson and Houchoutou, 18181 Jefferson Highway, if you want to plug that into your phone. Mitch Kimball and his team, they've always got great deals going on. They've always got finance deals going on. And if you mention you heard about it right here, you get free delivery at either location of the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet, 4065 Florida Boulevard, or the corner of Jefferson and Houchoutou. We have a hybrid mattress at the house, and I absolutely love it. Anybody who went through the hurricane with a cooling gel mattress or the power outages with a cooling gel mattress knows it can be a game changer. And if you've not yet experienced the joy that is an adjustable base, you need to. 4065 Florida Boulevard at the corner of Jefferson and Houchoutou for the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet. Okay. Swing by Walgreens, or Walgreens is probably your best bet. Like a $20 set of Sony headphones gets it done, and it comes with the other. Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. Chuck just spent so much time trying to be a nice guy about it. And I'm like, dude, don't. And then when another set broke, and there's just so many different people that run through the studio who have no reason to give a bleep about it. I pay for studio time. I can do what I want. Break. Oh, I don't care. Yeah. So that's bees. What it bees? Oh. What? Yeah. Yeah, she texted me it's in. Bless you. Kyler Murray was 400 yards. Yeah. I had three guys not even score. So we've moved over to doing daily fantasy on DraftKings. Um, I should probably start getting endorsement money from DraftKings. I'm going to talk about this regularly. Um, it was my first time out. I didn't do it week one, so this week was my first time out, and I won because that's how I roll. Um,
Obviously.
so I absolutely love the concept. I miss the concept of having the whole, like, this is your roster for the season and you got to manage your roster throughout the season.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea of just you draft your own team and you're just picking from the pick of the litter. Like, there's three guys that I had that the guy I was playing against had as well. Um, no, what? Not three. There's two. We both had Jamar Chase and one other guy. Oh, Kamara. Who's
He was bad today, or this week at least.
the good thing about Kamara is even when he's bad, he's still good
Of course.
because it's PPR. So
So you're fine.
anyway, I walk away. I'm up money already. I'm playing. I'm already starting off playing playing with house money. We are so late. .618 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP running so late here. We got to get caught up with the Fox Business Report in about a minute and a half. So let's be quick about this. LSU quarterback Max Johnson threw for 372 yards and 5 touchdowns as the Fighting Tigers offense came to life in a 49-21 win over Central Michigan. Freshman Deion Smith had 2 touchdown catches. Fellow freshman Jack Besh had a great one-handed grab in the end zone. Besh believes they can build momentum from Saturday's performance.
They felt us, and we're going to keep making people feel this. You know, we're going to make every SEC team we play feel this. Next week at Mississippi State, you know, we're going to keep coming at them. Like we emphasized this whole week in practice was warp. We're going to keep doing it. We're going to keep going. Big play after big play after big play. We're going to keep sending shots down the field.
Keyshawn Butte led the way with 6 catches. That's leading for the number of catches, not yards or touchdowns. Smith had 2 touchdowns. Tigers showed off their depth at wide receiver. Smith, Besh, Devontae Lee each had 5 catches. Brian Thomas had 2 catches for 50 yards. Quarterback Max Johnson says an adjustment on offense helped them spread the ball around.
Yeah, I think just putting Keyshawn in the slot allowed us to open up some other things for the other receivers, such as Deion and BT, and D-Lee made some good catches. I think just, putting our guys in space and trying to get them the ball is, what we're trying to do throughout the game.
Get them the ball quickly played into that as well. Kickoff for Mississippi State will be super early, 11 a.m., which means, I believe, coverage on our sister station, Eagle 98.1, starts at dawn. And I'm not even exaggerating. Here comes the Fox Business Report. Well, I also didn't break until 14. So I think 60-second fillers are popping in where 30-second fillers are supposed to be. And if that happens twice in one break, now you're taking 2 30s and turn them into 2 60s, and now you're a full minute over. Yeah. Okay.
One guy I drafted kind of high who's kind of disappointing me right now is James Robinson, the Jags running back.
You're not going to get a whole lot out of him for the first half of the year.
He just did so well last season.
Yeah, but
he was like the top 5.
Yeah, but you got rookie quarterback for one thing.
Who likes to sling?
Yep.
Yeah.
Rookie quarterback, new coach who.
Yeah.
And that's just a dismantled franchise.
Yeah.
They're going to be playing from behind every single game.
I guess I just had faith because he was like the only bright spot of that team last season. So you think they'd still reward him with like production, but they still have Carlos Hyde getting significant touches.
Yeah.
What the heck is this, man?
All right, so it's going to be 7, 8, and 9 in this segment.
Yep. I got those ready. I got those ready. Do you still want to cover the Saints real quick, or do we not have time?
Yeah, I'll cover them briefly.
Okay. That was pretty. It was pretty upsetting to watch. I wasn't expecting a win after all those injuries, but jeez. I'm getting my thoughts in for the folks at YouTube. I think there were some bright spots, but jeez. How to follow a really good performance up like that with.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm just thinking to myself, like, we just destroyed the Packers.
Yeah.
Then we get all those injuries. Takes the momentum of our season immediately.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that coaches are actually valuable.
Mm-hmm.
When half your coaching staff is quarantined for COVID, it affects things.
It does have an effect. It just my headphones right now just sounds like everything is peaking. It's kind of funny, but it also makes me feel like my audio is all out of bounds. Okay, I'm taking this out. Forgot, I never checked what Ronald Jones ended up getting. Dropped him. Oh, he got 4 points. Good job.
Who?
Ronald Jones.
Oh.
I dropped him for Eli Mitchell for my 4th choice running back. I think that's a good pickup in my opinion.
Yeah, I had like 2 guys didn't even score for me. Adam Troutman didn't score,
Yeah, the big fish.
which was upsetting to say the least. But I won, so I don't care.
That is true. As long as you win, it doesn't matter.
Right. .624, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Didn't get a chance to cover the Saints in the last segment. I'm just guessing here that when Condon steps in a little while, and I don't know, he might be off on something else entirely, we might cover this a little bit because, born and raised New Orleans, he's a Houdat just like I am, so we might touch on that. Saints stunk yesterday. I mean, absolutely stunk it up yesterday. Everything they did right in week 1, they did wrong in week 2. I do start the Monday off, though, worried that all eyes are going to be focused on Jameis Winston. 2 interceptions, both of which glaringly bad decisions. Glaringly bad decisions. The first one was right before halftime. I want to say it was about less than 30 seconds to go till halftime. So on the one hand, if you're Jameis, you could say, well, it's not like that interception didn't lead to points for the other team, so it wasn't that bad. Plus, the clock's winding down. What difference does it make? The difference is all the difference in that if you could put 3 points up on the board before going into half and then get the ball back to start the second half, points plus ball could equal momentum. But I got to tell you, hindsight being 2020, there was nothing that was going to get the Saints momentum yesterday. They were just awful from start to finish. And it is worth noting that the 2 really horrible decisions by Jameis Winston were very reminiscent of Tampa Winston. You start to question, has he really gotten anywhere yet? You want to maximize the Jameis Winston we saw against Green Bay while minimizing what we saw yesterday and trying to make a play where it's physically impossible. There's that, but this game was not on him. This game was not on him at all. Jameis Winston is not the reason that Alvin Kamara rushed for like 4 yards. Jameis Winston is not the reason that 26 points went up on the board for Carolina. That's with a missed extra point and a missed field goal, so it really should have been 30. No, a blocked field goal, excuse me. It really should have been 30. Everything seemed off yesterday, and a lot of it had to do with COVID quarantines, injuries, and everything else. It's just a perfect storm stacked up against New Orleans. And it's not going to get easier because they're at New England this coming weekend. We'll pick that up later on. Right now, let's go back from the news front. Starting today, 10 different Louisiana parishes are eligible for applying for disaster food stamps. DSNAP, if you will. DCFS Assistant Secretary Shavonna Howard says, residents with last names starting A to F in Baton Rouge, Iberia, Orleans, St. Tammany, Washington, and 5 other parishes can call the LA Help You Customer Service Center to apply to be interviewed.
We will be using the alphabet system to ensure that we have adequate coverage and we can answer everybody's needs as quickly as possible.
You're going to hear more about this in our news segment at the bottom of the hour as well. Applicants for DSNAP interviews should call 888-524-3574. Have financial and personal information available before calling. Howard says DSNAP's interviews are going to take place 6 days a week through October 9th. She says check the Department of Children and Family Services website for the day that you can apply.
I'm not sure if they're all going to be eligible, but we definitely think that there's going to be at least 180,000 or so that are actually going to be applying for the CBED.
It's a lot. It's a lot of people going to be applying. By the way, speaking of a lot of people applying, FEMA has already approved more than 400,000 households for aid, provided more than $418 million in grants directly to survivors in the wake of Hurricane Ida. And that is as of Friday morning, by the way. They don't send out the press releases and emails over the weekend. But rental assistance and other aid, basic home repairs, other serious disaster-related needs for homeowners and renters. Oh, and by the way, follow-up. We had Nathan Custer from FEMA on late last week talking about generator reimbursement. Apparently, the folks who have been pounding away trying to get their money back, they're finally getting somewhere. It's not easy. I hate using that reference of turning a ship, but they're getting somewhere. Folks are starting to get their money back for generators. It's always a slow-moving process when you deal with a monolith like FEMA, when you deal with something that huge. Back to the DSNAP benefits. Howard says those benefits are available to those who live in one of the 25 parishes declared a federal disaster area. She says disaster food stamps are designed to help Ida victims buy groceries due to lost income or damages as a result of the storm.
We'll be looking at your net incomes for the disaster period. We'll be looking at your resources that you have available and access to, and they'll be looking at your expenses.
So between FEMA and DCFS and your insurance and about 100 other outlets, I mean, there is a lot of relief to be had. There's a lot of aid to be had in the wake of Hurricane Ida. That being said, though, all of it's going to take a lot of doing to get to. None of it is as easy as just snapping your fingers. You just don't walk through a front door, say, hey, I need money, and you get money. It's not how it works. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Richard Condon is going to join us, as he's been doing every Monday morning. In the meanwhile, I've got to ask, do you have any kind of nagging pain or injury? And if so, have you thought about physical therapy? If you're popping Aleve or ibuprofen every single morning, you don't have to be. Normally, when we think of physical therapy, we think about recovering from a major accident or injury. It's not just the case. Of course, that's the case there, but that's not just the case. Baton Rouge Physical Therapy has 6 locations throughout the greater Baton Rouge area. They basically introduced Baton Rouge to physical therapy about 60 years ago. They can help you. They sit you down. They talk about your comfort level for treatment and what it is that's ailing you and how to get you back to being your best you. If you do have that nagging injury, that lower back pain, that tweak in the knee, visit brptlake.com for your free screening today, brptlake.com. Bro, I almost forgot about the live read for BRPT. Yeah, I looked up at exactly the right time. I got my little stand for my phone. What's up, T-Bob? Huh. Is he starting to sound a little slower? Jeff.
Ever so slightly. I
Okay, so that sound card does that and might need to be rebooted. We'll hold off until the next time we use it to find out.
I mean, it's still 2 minutes.
No. Yeah, it's going to be the same length either way. It's just going to sound awful. Hey, Kevin. Yeah.
For some reason, he's not here for this segment. Like, if I want to go on lunch, I usually leave his mic on anyways. And he might be Piers and Dylan out there in the background.
Yeah, if you hear him.
There's about a mile of slow traffic on the Spillway Bridge on I-10 eastbound, so that will affect you if you're leaving our area and going to New Orleans. There's a crash close to the Kenner side of the bridge at mile marker 280.
Man. David Aguillard was supposed to. It's still on hold. There you go. Just hang up. Grab that one.
And where is that? Downwards out of the new bridge? Eastbound. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Don't want to report a traffic thing.
Mm-hmm.
On the new bridge eastbound downward, 18 rear to fender bender, but diesel spilled all over it.
Okay.
I don't know if that's, I'm guessing you're supposed to report that.
Ashley does. We don't. It's difficult. The logistics of having our news partners handle our traffic are difficult, but I'll let her know.
Complete Collision Center is next.
Gotcha. It's 20, but I'm not doing that. That would set him up for a triple word. Let's ignore that. All right, Jolie Pearl. Ha.
Hey, what's going on, brother?
Dude, you and I gotta go shopping together, man. That was the most effeminate thing I've ever said. That's a gorgeous shirt. I really like that. Where's that from?
No, man, when I had a regular job, I had to wear
You had a
shorts,
regular-
flowers, that
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it didn't have to be I didn't have to wear dress pants. It was just,
Those
jeans.
No,
Jimmy
but that's
and
because
Al's
it
really
looks a
where the
lot like a
show really
Haspel shirt.
starts.
I love
Like
Enjoy.
it's very comfortable,
It's a good
sits
shirt.
nice. What are we talking about today?
Oh, man, it doesn't matter, man. Go LSU and early kickoff, and I got an angle where you don't have to worry about it. The game will probably end at the same time it normally does. So that and, whatever. Talk about the Saints, whatever. I mean, look, I can sit here all day long and talk about the crap going on under the interstate in Texas, but,
What's
people
going on
see
under
that
the interstate in Texas?
Coach in Del Rio, when you got like 20,000, a lot of them Haitians. How do you get from Haiti to the North American continent? How do you do that? How do you do that? How do you get from Haiti to the North American continent? What do you
Without going through Florida. I mean, even if you go through.
How do you get there?
Right.
No, it's just, and then Kamala Harris, you know what she was doing on Saturday when all this crap's going on?
What?
She's doing the she was the MVP, or inviting, she's doing a coin toss at the Howard Hampton game. She's responsible for the border, and she's at the Howard Hampton game doing this. Wow. And then Joe's on vacation. He's biking. Like Joe's wearing a helmet. Like he can be anyway more off.
Back in from break right now. Can I
Gee, thanks, brother.
Yeah, we're good. Thanks. 638 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. So we started a new segment, I guess a little over a month ago. Had to take a week off for the hurricane, but Richard Condon comes in every Monday at 6:35 for Condon's Countdown. Richard, good morning. How are you, sir?
Big Jake, how are you, buddy? Doing good, man. Doing good.
So
I got some bad news, though.
What you got?
Jameis entered interception rehab early this morning.
Good. That's good news.
Yep. He had he just had a fallback. He crashed and burned, and God bless him. You know what's crazy about that game? If you would have told me that the Saints would go in and only pick up 148 yards, I thought all the guys missing were on the defensive side. Oh, yeah, that's right, they were.
Yeah.
What the hell was going on with the offense? You know what surprised me the most yesterday? I wasn't shocked by Jameis. It's one game, whatever. Let's call it a push through 2 games.
Right.
Kamala Harris. The guy looked like his heart wasn't in it. There was one time you had to pick up a first down. He knew where he was.
Not Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is the vice
She's
president.
the one who did the coin toss at the Hampton Howard
Yeah,
game
yeah,
yesterday.
yeah.
My bad.
Yeah.
On Saturday. But, yeah, I mean, he looked half-hearted.
Yeah.
He looked disinterested.
Yeah.
It was just frustrating. It's one thing to lose. Well, you go to Carolina, you lose a game.
A divisional game.
I get that. All right,
Yeah.
it can happen. But to go there and play so effortless.
Yeah.
And, like, going through the motions and, maybe the whole bit about having to go to Dallas and because of Ida,
Okay.
maybe that kicked in. But I don't think over the long stretch it's going to matter. I think, obviously, once they get fully healthy, and then, of course, in a couple of weeks they'll get the bye, and maybe they get Michael Thomas back and the suspended guys back and that sort of thing. Maybe Lattimore could play a little bit more. But that was disappointing. But I will tell you this. I don't know what LSU's going to do the rest of the way when SEC play begins on Saturday. But what I saw on Saturday night, if they would have played with that type of emotion
Yes.
against UCLA,
Oh, they'd have blown him out of the water.
and they would have booed McNeese out of the water.
Yes.
And for whatever reason, and you know what Coach Edo said last week, you're going to see the biggest improvement. Coaches say that all the time, and when it doesn't happen that Saturday, the fans and people remind them. But, man, they play with emotion on Saturday. And, Brian, I'll tell you one thing, man. When you look at these freshmen, Deion Smith, what he did, you look at Jack Besh, what a stud. A little over a year ago, that kid had one offer from Vandy.
I know.
And look what he's doing now, man. The kid is an absolute stud. And, Corey Kiner, he comes in, he goes for like 80-something yards on 12 carries, and the numbers are a little skewed. The offensive line, the running game still stinks. It's not good. But Corey Kiner, what happened was in the second half, he comes in, he gets the majority of his carries, and the LSU, adapt over all the talent. It just wore down Central Michigan. So he had that advantage in the second half. But, I mean, really, what an effort. I was kind of shocked. I thought they'd go through the motions. Whoever out there lays a couple of eggs on games, I didn't think they'd cover. But for them to come out and play with the emotion they did, it really is a good sign.
So I was impressed with most of the LSU game, to be sure, and I wasn't disappointed in the run game. It's improving every single week. We do need to start looking at the idea of, we meaning the entire fan base and everybody who talks about LSU football, maybe a little bit less of the Ty Davis Price and a little bit more of the Corey Kiner. It's nice to see him get all these runs in the back half of the game, but if you can establish the run in the front half of the game, it's going to make everything else that much sweeter. And if Max Johnson could throw for 372 yards in 2.5 quarters of play, because let's not forget, it was after the interceptions when he came out, right? Mm-hmm. We weren't even to the fourth quarter yet. It was still the third quarter.
And, for a lot of people out there, we talked about it on our post-game show, it wasn't the interception. It was the part of the game where Ed Ogeron knew that he had to give.
Oh yeah, that wasn't
Nussmeier some plays, because chances are in the SEC play that's not going to happen,
right?
Unless Max Johnson goes on it. And look, all these Tiger fans out there who don't like 11 o'clock kickoffs, there's a good chance the end of the game will be about the same time if they kicked off at 6. Because remember what happened last year?
I do.
All the passing, 623 of Mississippi State's 632 yards came through the air, and Will Rogers, State's quarterback, threw the football 67 times on Saturday. In a loss to Memphis. How many times do you think the football is going to be in the air? LSU can't run. They're going to throw more. State's going to throw. And that's going to be a long game on Saturday.
Just clock stoppages to move the chains for a first down or an incomplete pass. Those clock stoppages alone, if you take an extra 25 to 30 seconds for every play, I mean, you're talking about adding an hour to this game, Rich.
You know what? The last time I thought LSU wanted revenge on Mississippi State was when John Bond was the wishbone quarterback in the 80s, and LSU couldn't beat John Bond in Mississippi State. Never would LSU ever have a reason to get fired up and motivated, But they do after what happened in the opener in Tiger Stadium last year.
Oh, they should
The
be.
state came
yes.
in and leeches these crossing routes over the middle. Ate LSU's lunch all day long.
So, yeah, 11 a.m. kickoff, which is going to be a little bit weird. Good thing is it's on the road. I mean, we don't have to worry about Tiger fans
Can we
not
be
showing up.
self-centered for a minute? Just you and I?
Sure.
And I love your audience, but you know what? That means we get home at a decent time.
I know.
So, like, if we have, like, restaurant reservations, you and your family and me and mine, we can enjoy ourselves.
Absolutely.
Because, 11 o'clock kickoff. And the good thing, if it's an 11 a.m. kickoff, at least it's a road game.
See,
It's
that's
a
what,
road game.
that's what I'm talking about. We don't have to miss out on an experience at Tiger Stadium. You can watch the game from your sofa and not have. I mean, you just roll out the bed. You don't have to worry about tailgating or whatever. You just roll out of bed and watch the game from wherever. It's like last week. I don't know what it ended up like by kickoff time, but the vibe on campus was a slow play all day long Saturday.
Man, you go to UCLA and you play lethargic.
Yeah.
And you come home with that loss, and UCLA loses to Fresno State on Saturday night. And then, I would expect that, man. People trying to recover from Ida. You didn't play well against UCLA. Ed Ingram came out last week and said, well, we underestimated UCLA, and, it's McNeese, and you didn't really blow them out. So, I mean, I get it. But now, really, there's a restart to this season because they played fired up on Saturday night. They played like they liked to play. They played with emotion, and that's all LSU fans want to see. And hopefully they'll continue that in Starkville. And, like Jack Besh said after the game, Brian, it is, man. It's a new season. I know if you made the trip to UCLA, I know you wanted LSU to blow out McNeese. But, man, it really is a new season. Are they going to run the table? No. But I will tell you this, watching Alabama almost get beat by Florida on Saturday, Alabama's not invincible.
Okay, but does that mean that Florida almost is, though? Like, does it – you could take Bama down a peg, but you have to raise Florida up
But
a peg
I will
as
tell
well.
you this, though. I know this, LSU's got to play both of them. And I would rather Florida and Alabama play a close one, knowing, okay, where if I'm an LSU fan and Alabama goes in and they win by 28, I'm going, it's going to be the same crap this year.
Yeah.
We're going to get blown out in Tuscaloosa. And they may still do it, but at least, what's great about college football this year, and it's true, man, all the pundits, there's no dominant team. Alabama didn't look dominant. Clemson's already lost. We know what Notre Dame can't do. It's just there's no dominant team in college football right now, which means it is wide open.
Yeah.
It gives like a program like Cincinnati. Do I think they're going to make the 14 playoff? No, but at least there's open windows of opportunity thus far, and we haven't seen that in the past. There's always been this team.
Right.
Well, that's locking up one spot. And right now, man, Georgia looks like the best team in the country. They look good.
So that's a weird spot to be in. It's weird to say that out loud because they really do. They clobbered South Carolina on Saturday. That was. I'm not. You don't close the book on Alabama though. When they get that when they get that close to losing and get to right the ship, it's going to be full on Nick Saban being Nick Saban this week. So I worry for the health and safety of the families, whoever's playing Alabama this week.
It was the first time on Saturday I ever saw Nick Saban's team take a quarter off.
Yeah.
I mean, they took the second quarter off.
Yeah.
It was done. They didn't even care. And knowing Nick Saban's teams, after doing that, they come out fired up in the third quarter, and it was kind of still a little bit lackadaisical.
Hey, you asked a good question during the break. I know we've been talking mostly football here, but you asked a good question during the break about what's going on in Texas right now. Can you just pose that question on air because it's going to open up such a can of worms?
Well, here my question is, how in the hell do you take a flight from Haiti to Mexico? How do you do that? Because most of the people under the interstate in Del Rio, Texas, are from Haiti. So how did they get from Haiti to the continent of North America? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
It's a good question. How do you get from Haiti?
It looked like they had an international Boy Scouts convention, and it was happening under the interstate in Del Rio.
To get from Haiti to
Camp
Texas,
Avondale on a national level.
If you're drawing a straight line on a map, Haiti to Florida makes sense.
Obviously, we know where the Gulf waters were running.
He's Richard Condon. You catch him down the hall on Condon Uncensored. Love you, brother. Appreciate it.
You too, Biggs.
Your Money Now coming up next. We might run long on that. That's fine. If you got to stop traffic, if you got to stop the break before traffic, we can run Your Money Now and hit it. Yeah.
We good, man?
We're golden. That was perfect. Thank you.
No, I didn't really know what to bring because there was nothing really local news-wise.
Yeah.
Over the weekend.
Bro, it has been a slow news.
No, it has.
Local news has been slow since before the hurricane.
No, it has.
Yeah. I mean,
the thing about it is the crazy thing that happened in New Roads. Well, what? I mean, that's just crazy. When you got 5 family members shot, what do you do with it? It's just sad, man.
there's not really a whole lot you can.
And then people are burnt out on the whole border thing. It's kind of trying to find a new angle And it's frustrating being in opposition because our job is to find that niche,
Yeah.
find that angle, and then when you spend time, it's 2 in the morning, you look and this crap. I mean, that's you and I both having daughters. This crap.
Oh, finding the dude, I don't even know where to begin with that.
So wait a minute, I know the stepdad went to Wyoming, right? He
Right.
went there. Where's the biological dad? Any news on him? Is he dead? What's going on?
Didn't
'Cause
even-
I'll tell you one thing. Last week, if I'm the biological dad, I'm banging on that son of a bugger's front door wanting to whip his old man's ass.
Yeah. So I knew nothing about this story until yesterday, until they found the body. There's been.
Well, I was listening to Biden, and everybody's going, how you speculating? Because he had like 2 or 3 distinguishable tattoos.
Yeah.
So that was pretty much, Jay, thanks, bro. Work, man. Have a good one.
So when it comes to 650, just hit pause on the.
Yes. Yeah, and David is going to be calling the hotline.
How do you pronounce his last name? Is it Aguillard?
Aguillard. Yeah. Hey! Shout out to the Baton Rouge firemen. What's the name of the team? The A team, basically. The special team that got sent down to Grand Isle to help out with cleanup down there. Watching us in Grand Isle this morning. Reported on you guys on Friday morning as y'all were deploying down that way. So welcome aboard, gentlemen, and thank you for doing what you do. I got to see Grand Isle the weekend after the storm, and you got a brutal task in front of you. So good luck to you. And while I'm saying good morning to my beautiful wife as well. She texted that she's watching this morning. Beep, ba, ba, ba. And you're like, oh, it's your wife. She should be. I'm like, yeah, but she's got like 3 kids to get ready for school. That's not true. She's got 2 kids to get ready for school. The 14-year-old can handle it. But the 5-year-old is a mess, so that's like getting 2 kids ready. Gotcha. Yeah. I have no idea. Okay. Saints struggle versus Panthers. Boy, is that an understatement.
I really don't take a loss to hurt, though. We were never gonna win.
Oh, I disagree with that.
We were losing. We missed so many of our key players and staff.
No, I'm aware, but the talent that was on the field should have been better. It's okay. Don't worry about it.
I didn't think we had a chance of winning. Regardless of how much you play, regardless of what level you play at, even for the best of the best, knowing that you're not going to have the majority of your coaches or your teammates to help you.
Yeah.
You're not going to be the same player.
By the way, the DraftKings Sportsbook we still can't bet from in Louisiana. I thought that was open by now. All right, you need to mix it up a little bit. You've been the same songs every single day. I don't normally pay attention to music, but it's getting repetitive. 6:53, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. CBS World News Roundup coming your way shortly. So the headline late last week read, Catholic Charities in Baton Rouge set to receive 49 Afghan refugees. Joining us now to talk about this is David Aguillard with Catholic Charities. David, welcome back to Talk 107.3. How are you this morning, sir?
Hey, Brian, we're doing good. We've been very active with Ida recovery all over South Louisiana, and some of that activity is kind of winding down as people have come back up with their electricity, and we're kind of moving into a long-term recovery mode for those people who need extensive work and time to get back into their homes.
So,
and now
we're shifting over to 49 Afghan refugees out of 59 that are coming to the state. 49 are coming through Baton Rouge, 10 are coming through New Orleans. Let's start with what we know. What do we know about the folks that are making their way into our backyard?
Sure. Well, we know these are people who were allowed into the airport in Kabul and then onto flights that were then bound for intermediate destinations like in Germany and other U.S. bases in the Mideast. They've been screened and vetted. They've helped our troops, and they're coming here they'll be fully vaccinated for all required U.S. vaccinations, including COVID. They've had the health screenings. They've cleared safety background checks, probably both before they started to work for the troops in Afghanistan, as well as there's multiple steps along the way where there are security clearances as they come to the United States. We know we're getting about 49 people. It'll probably be 10 to 12 families. We have worked with our providers of housing. We think that we know that there's housing for them, and then they'll receive some support for about 90 days, and then after that they'll be on their own.
Let's start with the background checks and whatnot, because it's out of y'all's hands as far as Catholic Charities is concerned. This all happens before they're handed off to y'all. Y'all's mission is more whatever you do for the least of my people is where y'all come in. But what level of reassurance do y'all get that as the Taliban is taking over in Afghanistan, they're not sending Taliban over as quote-unquote refugees? Who we're getting are actually refugees.
Well, we trust our troops on the ground in Afghanistan, that they have worked with these families. If you've heard some of the news coverage and talk shows over the past few weeks, there's a lot of just pleas from veterans of Afghanistan trying to get some of their friends over. They've been, we believe and trust the folks on the ground who are letting them onto the airplanes. They get to these intermediate bases and they have biometric screenings. Those things are sometimes confirmed several times along the way. And then also we have our experience. We've never had any trouble in our 40, 50 years of doing this. As far as I know, there's been one incident of someone coming through the refugee program, which is different than immigration. But the U.S. refugee program is one of the safest in the world. And there's been one incident of a terroristic kind of behavior from somebody, and that was back in the 60s with after the Cuban Revolution.
One incident in the history of the program. That is important to note. Also, if you could, what's the difference between a refugee and an immigrant?
Yeah, sure. A refugee is admitted to our country. They come here with on a specific program that has steps, that has all the safety and security clearances, all the healthcare screenings. It usually takes some time to apply and get into the program versus an immigrant who is usually allowed in for a short period of time. Many times they just show up at the border and they have their green card or they have their medical visa. So many times they're just coming here for supposedly a short time. And as a matter of fact, most of the undocumented people in this country don't come across the border. They end up landing in airports around our country because they come in with a visa and then they overstay their visa. But a refugee, the big difference is a refugee is allowed in with full permission and support from the U.S. government. There's an integrated program to help them become our new neighbors. And that's one of the reasons why the U.S. refugee program is one of the safest in the world because we welcome them, we incorporate them into our communities, and then they feel at home, and they enrich our lives, and hopefully we help them, experience the freedoms and the economic opportunity that our country has because, they want the same things for their kids that we have for our kids, and it's just the ability to have a better, safer future.
Got about a minute left with David Aguillard from Catholic Charities. By the way, if you want to help out with this, it's catholiccharities.br.org, catholiccharities.br.org. David, what kind of oversight is done once they arrive here? You gave like a 90-day time frame, basically. What is Catholic Charities' level of involvement for checking in, making sure that that they're taken care of, but while at the same time, adapting to their new environment?
Well, there are requirements that they have to fill in order to continue to qualify for those benefits. There's an orientation program that we do. We introduce them to law enforcement. The kids get to climb around through police cars. We also, though, rely on the community to reach out and help. We can't be with them all the time, but we have volunteers who will come in and help the kids enroll in school, help tutor them, show them things like, what is Thanksgiving all about? What is Valentine's Day? Some of these things.
It's a scam by the drugstores.
Yeah. Show them how to shop at Walmart. These things that we take for granted are shocking to people who come from war-torn countries and have fled with hardly the clothes on their back to try to protect their children and their families.
Well, 49 refugees will be making their way to Baton Rouge. Catholic Charities is helping facilitate it. David Aguillard. Look, I want to check in about a month and a half or so just to get a status update, not let the headline fall to the wayside.
Sure. Go to catholiccharities.br.com or .org, and please volunteer. We can use your help. You can help these guys and these families who helped us. We can help them in return. Thank you.
He is David Aguillard from Catholic Charities. We are late for the CBS World News Roundup. Let's get it. I don't normally pay attention to something like that, but it's showing up to the exact same songs every single day. Yeah. I'm really all over the board. I don't have a preference. All right. I want to dump the rest of this coffee before my stomach goes crazy on me. Way too much crap up there. And my baseball bat's officially gone. What the shit? Oh, there it is.
I'm guessing just get the legal ID by now. Just go to weather or not weather.
Yeah, traffic. Yeah. Baton Rouge. It's 59 statewide. 10 of them are going to New Orleans, which I'm guessing now is just not the right time for New Orleans.
By the way, I have the you can help the charities at Catholic
charitiesbr.org/Afghan refugees.
Got it.
Oh shoot. Hopefully I have a full minute here for traffic. I gotta be right back.
Out the drive right now, we have some slowdowns on the Spillway Bridge, but the cause is now clear. There was an accident around mile marker 218 close to Kenner. That crash is gone, but traffic is still in recovery mode. So you can see all lanes are open here, but there's still congestion on the spillway. So take that into account. 15 minutes due into Airline Highway. We've got slow travels right now on I-12 westbound as more cars are hitting the road here. This is right around O'Neill where we do have a traffic jam. Let's take outside. No jam on the bridge westbound, but look at this eastbound side. We're already seeing things slow down and pick up. So it'll be slow for the next 2 hours.
See an accident? Report it at WBRZ Traffic on Twitter. This report is brought to you by Shawbills, where you can get free tire repairs on all household cars when you purchase new tires. It's all part of the Charlie's Dozen. It's only at Shawbills.
We are off to a muggy start this week. Showers will be in and out all day, but slightly more active during the morning hours. Afternoon temperatures will max out in the mid to upper 80s with high humidity. Overnight temperatures will be muggy in the mid 70s. Tuesday will be the last rainy, muggy day in the forecast. A few showers will move through along a cold front, and Tuesday night temperatures will dip down into the 60s. Wednesday will bring cooler, drier air with afternoon temperatures struggling to reach the 80s and overnight lows dipping down into the 50s. The cool, dry conditions will last through the weekend.
You already start with that shit necessary.
All good.
Alright.
706 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP Hour 2 of Mornings with Brian Haldane coming your way right now. Brian here with you, Jake Barty producing. Thanks again to David Aguillard from Catholic Charities for hopping on board. Talk a little bit about 49 Afghan refugees making their way to Baton Rouge, 59 statewide, which when looked at on a national scale is actually a relatively small number. But interesting stuff from David in that since the beginning of the refugee program, there's been one incident where the safety protocols have been violated, and that was back in the 60s. Lot of ground still to cover this morning. We've got Medical Monday coming your way in our next segment. We got Stephen Wagaspack from LABI coming up later this hour. And I want to talk with State Representative Valorie Hodges in our 8 o'clock hour about vaccine mandates. Where are we going in this state with vaccine mandates? So far, the governor's been very, very hesitant, but when it comes to following a national lead, what are we going to see? Also, actor Steven Weber, before we're all done this morning. That is all still to come on the show today. Right now, though, we start the second hour off with top stories and trending. Let's get it. An overturned truck caught fire on I-12 west at Airline Highway yesterday afternoon. Sources said one person died at the scene. Our news partners at WBRZ are now reporting that it was the person who died at the scene was a 33-year-old man from Alabama who was in town to assist in storm recovery efforts related to Hurricane Ida. The Baton Rouge police say DeAndre Gilmore lost his life in that crash. The department's traffic homicide unit is leading an investigation into the wreck, which occurred in the 400 block of I-12 around 6 p.m. I-12 west at Drusilla Lane is where we're talking about here. It was shut down last night from roughly 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. Well, tougher drainage requirements for development in flood zones took effect Saturday, but they don't apply to several residential projects being considered today by the Planning Commission. In a unanimous September 8th vote, the Metro Council approved a year-long tightening of building standards for projects in flood zones. Any project filed before September 1st is exempt from what proponents have labeled a moratorium. Councilman Rowdy Gode, who joined us right after this was passed on the show to talk about it, Councilman Rowdy Gode of District 3 says the engineer handling one of the projects told him it'll be built to the stricter standard, even though it's technically exempt. Maple Cove is the project we're talking about, an 11-acre, 60-home development on Burbank Drive. By the way, all items on tonight's agenda have satisfied the needed criteria, according to Planning Commission staff. The BRPD officer who was hit by a drunk driver is back home again. Baton Rouge Police Sergeant Jason Martin, who was severely injured when an accused drunk driver struck multiple police officers, is finally home after nearly a month of rehabilitation. Martin was greeted Friday by a motorcade of family and fellow officers at the Zor Baptist Church in Central. Police say an intoxicated driver crashed into 3 officers back in August as they were investigating another crash on I-10. All 3 officers were hurt, but Sergeant Martin suffered from a broken leg and required surgery. His mother, Kathy, says her son's progress is nothing short of a miracle, given the extent of his injury. She said, quote, "He did lose his right leg, but he's going to be able to get a prosthetic. He'll be back at work and doing great. We're just glad he's here." Martin has spent 14 years on the DWI task force at BRPD. He also traveled around the state warning others of the dangers of drunk driving, which his family said makes the accident ironic and all the more tragic. The DSNAP program allowing residents to recover food lost during Ida begins today. We talked about this a little bit in the last hour. Those who lost food during the impact of Hurricane Ida can apply for food assistance to help replace the items lost. According to the Louisiana Department of Children and Family Services, a number of Louisiana residents in 25 parishes will be deemed eligible for assistance from the Disaster Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. The program is open. Phase 1 opens today. East Baton Rouge, East Feliciana, Iberia, Orleans, Point Capiz, St. Bernard, St. Tammany, Washington, West Baton Rouge, and West Feliciana are all in Phase 1. Phase 2 opens up next week. If you're in Ascension, Assumption, Iberville, Jefferson, Livingston, Plaquemines Parish, St. Helena, St. Martin, St. Mary, and Tangipahoa Parish, you will fall into Phase 2. Phase 3 includes Lafourche, St. Charles, St. James, St. John the Baptist, and Terrebonne Parish. Visit DCFS's website to find out how to apply. 27 students got the hook. That's the final number here. Just over 24 students were kicked out of LSU after the university gave them an additional week to comply with their entry protocols, which included new COVID requirements that mandated students report their vaccination status and submit proof of a recent coronavirus test. On Friday, an LSU spokesperson said 24 students were unenrolled from the school after they failed to comply by the extended deadline that same afternoon. Students who refused to abide by the original reporting deadline on September 10th were given an extra week to complete their registration, despite several warnings from the university last week saying they would face unenrollment for noncompliance. The number went down from 78 all the way down to that 27. LSU said the 51 remaining students are taking the necessary steps to stay enrolled. That's a look at your top stories. Here's a look at what's trending this morning. SpaceX is back home again, or the Dragon spacecraft is back home again. The SpaceX Inspiration 4 crew, including Haley Arsenault, made it back home. Returned to Earth with all 4 members, including Haley. The spacecraft took off Wednesday from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, splashed down in the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Cape Canaveral. This was the first space mission to have a crew of non-astronauts. The project was privately funded by billionaire Elon Musk. Of course, we followed Haley's story all through the week last week. as she made history as the youngest person, cancer survivor. You know the story by now. Well, she's back home safe. Welcome home, Haley. That's top stories and trending. We need to take a break. When we come back, it's time for Medical Monday here on Talk 107.3. I'll get the complete collision on the back end of this. Okay. How long?
There's 2 stab 3s, there's 2 kill me's, and 2 10 at the same promo. There's two duplicates.
All right.
You want me to remove them?
Yeah. Remove, the duplicates. Keep the originals. Oh. Okay. Clinton Summers is in the house. What's happening, Clint?
Do I lead off this Medical Monday?
Yes, come back in with the Medical Monday Open. Oh, also, I know I told you no bumpers in the on-demand stuff, but when they're the prepared ones, like Medical Monday or Franz, Haggai, like all Crime Stoppers, you can include those because they're produced and often have a sponsor built in.
So, like, put that in program 4?
No. When you post it on demand, you can include Medical Monday when you post it on demand. Yeah, I wasn't clear the first time I explained it. I said no bumpers, and that was kind of a blanket statement that shouldn't have been.
Oh, good. So, phone thing in Medical Monday.
Yes.
How do you spell Jimmy's last name?
GAUDIN-FOWLER. God, why is my jaw hurting again? Huh? It's like right here. Like it has to pop, but it doesn't.
Yeah, you have complete collision and lead off quickly.
Okay.
What's LABI again?
Louisiana Association of Business and Industry.
Is that like a segment or is it just like someone representing?
Oh, Stephen Wagasback joins me every week. Sorry. He's the president of LABI. WAG. UESPACK. Splash. Ha! Ha! That was adorable. .717 to Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Yes, it is time for Medical Monday, and we're going to talk Alzheimer's and dementia today. I want to welcome in Jamie Godin Fowler. She is a nurse practitioner with Franciscan Missionaries. Jamie, good morning. Welcome to Talk 107.3. How are you?
Good morning, Brian. I'm doing fine. Thank you for having me.
No, glad to have you on here, and glad to be talking about this because this is a topic that I don't think a whole lot of people know a whole lot about. In fact, it's one that the our process of garnering knowledge has been evolving in recent years. It's talking about dementia. It's just it covers a lot of ground.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I'm happy to educate.
Yes, and that's exactly why we have you on. So let's start with that. What is dementia? Are there different types? What do we know?
Okay, so dementia basically is a general term for a group of brain disorders that cause memory problems and makes it hard for people to think clearly. There are several different types of dementia, the most common being Alzheimer's dementia. And Alzheimer's dementia is a disorder that basically the brain cells slowly die over time. Another type of dementia can be vascular dementia. This happens when parts of the brain do not get enough blood, and this can happen when blood vessels in the brain get blocked with blood clots or damaged by high blood pressure or even aging. And this is the form of dementia that is most common in those that have strokes or are at risk for strokes. Parkinson's disease, that is a brain disorder that affects movement, causes trembling, stiffness, and slowness. And as the Parkinson's disease progresses, some people develop dementia, and they call that Lewy body dementia. Other forms of dementia can happen if a person's brain has been damaged. If they get into a bad car accident and they have a traumatic brain injury, that definitely can lead to dementia.
Jamie, okay, so I did not realize Parkinson's was like the Parkinson's that Michael J. Fox has. That's a form of dementia.
Correct. Later in the disease process, yes, it is.
I think a lot of people just assume that dementia is a phase of Alzheimer's or a stage of Alzheimer's. Knowing that it covers that much ground really opens things up.
Yes.
Are the symptoms similar regardless of the type?
So basically in each type of dementia, there is difficulty with memory, language, reasoning, and judgment. But the symptoms are often very different from person to person, and the symptoms can usually change over time. Alzheimer's being the most common cause of dementia, we find that a lot of the symptoms and other forms of dementia often overlap Alzheimer's.
What are a few of those other symptoms? I think most of us associate memory loss with Alzheimer's and therefore memory loss with dementia. Is that something that transcends to the other types?
It can. Memory loss, basically, a lot of people will say memory loss. They worry that they're having Alzheimer's or they have Alzheimer's because they have memory loss problems. Mm-hmm. Well, there are normal age-related changes that cause minor difficulties with your memory, remembering a phone number or a set of directions or something like that, and temporarily forgetting a name, okay? But as people age normally, it is common to complain of less efficient and slower processes, learning of new information. And, due to normal aging, they're usually mild and they don't worsen greatly over time, and they don't interfere with a person's day-to-day functioning. So when things start affecting a person, balancing a checkbook or, making decisions, difficulty concentrating and stuff, that's when we need to start looking at is this dementia.
Is it, okay, so as those things develop, are they developing as stages of dementia, or are they developing as just this is where you're getting hit at this particular time of your life?
There are stages of dementia, and we have a scale that we kind of look at in order to diagnose. The number of symptoms, the functions that are impaired, and the speed with which the symptoms progress really vary from one person to the next. So say someone with severe dementia gets diagnosed within 5 years of that diagnosis, they could be stage 7. Other people, the progression can take, a little more time, like 10 years. Mm-hmm. But it should be noted that most people with Alzheimer's disease, they don't die from the dementia process itself. They usually die from something that is secondary, like a pneumonia or a bladder infection, or they fall and they break a hip, and that causes the decline in the patient. For the stages of dementia, there are 7 stages. And basically, there are functional milestones that we assess to give us an idea about where the patient is in the disease process. For example, a stage 3 is early dementia. It's where memory loss becomes apparent to family and coworkers. The big holiday that people start noticing changes in their family members, that, mom has lost weight or mom's not herself, is like Thanksgiving. We see that a lot right after the Thanksgiving holiday. Stage 6, that's moderately severe dementia, and the patient may begin to forget the family members' names or close friends. They actually start having more problems with activities of daily living, like bathing and toileting and eating. And, They can even develop delusions and hallucinations or obsessions as the disease progresses. This is also a stage where people begin to have problems with sleeping during the day and staying awake at night, so their days and their nights get mixed up. So we kind of use criteria to see how patients are functioning, and that helps us determine where they are in the process.
What's the likelihood of someone developing dementia? Is this something that it has a family history to it? Are there like key factors you should be on the lookout for? I know when it comes to other things like diabetes or heart disease or different forms of cancer, we could do things to be preventative about it. Is that the same with dementia as well?
Well, there's no clear way to predict with certainty who's going to develop dementia and who's not. Each form of dementia has its own risk factors, but most of the forms have several risk factors that are in common. For example, age. Age is the biggest risk factor for dementia. Dementia is rare in people younger than 60, and it's very common in people older than 80. Some forms of dementia do have a genetic component, meaning it runs in the family, such as having a close family member with Alzheimer's increases your chances of developing it. People who have a parent or a sibling with Alzheimer's have a greater chance of developing the disorder. And the risk is probably the highest if the family member developed dementia at a younger age, less than 70.
Can we test for this, like beforehand? Is there a way to know before you have it that you're more likely to have it?
So we don't routinely screen asymptomatic older adults for impairment. However, cognitive difficulty may be observed in a patient encounter when the patient goes to see their primary care physician. And then we kind of streamline, and with the patient's cognitive complaints, we do assessments like a mini mental status assessment, and this can basically assess for cognitive and behavioral assessments. We use these screening assessments, but there also needs to be a type of evaluation where, it's thorough and we kind of see where the patient is. The most important part of an evaluation is a detailed history, including the perspective of the family member that is coming with them, so that they can give an adequate history of changes cognitively and behaviorally. And then we need to thoroughly evaluate medications that the elderly are on. A lot of times, a patient is taking a certain type of medication, and that can be contributing to the change in the cognition and behaviors. We can screen for depression. Depression can mask dementia. We can do an MRI or a CT. It can be considered in the initial evaluation because it can detect treatable causes of dementia and may differentiate different subtypes. And then the follow-up visit, when you go to see your primary care a few months after the diagnosis, is really important to kind of, guide us in how the progression is going and where they are in the process.
I want to talk about treatment a little bit if we can, but before that, I feel like I need to make time for family members, because dementia is probably the toughest thing to have to deal with as a family member as well. I mean, even not to put it on a comparable scale, but even more so than cancer, because the communicative process with the person who you're watching deteriorate in front of you is just it's ridiculously hard on the family members. So
it is.
What are some tips and resources available to help those out who have loved ones who are dealing with dementia, therefore they are dealing with dementia?
Right. So dementia really imposes an enormous burden on families and caregivers, and it can really burn them out. Some tips that I would like to share are, making a daily plan, a routine, but prepare to be flexible if needed. Try to be patient when responding to the repetitive questions and the behaviors and the statements. Try to just be really patient with them, because getting agitated with them is not going to help the situation. Don't argue with them, or, if they give you mistaken facts and they really truly believe something in their mind, it's best just to kind of go along with it, or to gently try to remind the person of an inaccuracy, or even change the subject. Memory aids are real important too. Write out a list of activities that can help them, phone numbers and, instructions for usual tasks. Establish a calm and a consistent nighttime routine. Routine is key for patients with dementia. The more you interrupt the routine and their environment, the more they are going to be out of sorts. Employee safety measures. Make sure you've got, locks on medicine cabinets, or keeping furniture the same way, or reducing clutter. They can install like grab bars in the bathroom to help them with their, bathing and such. And one thing that a lot of people don't think about is setting the water heater below 120 degrees. When you have dementia, you don't really differentiate between hot and cold. And so to go wash your hands, it could be scalding hot. And, then we have a serious problem, a serious burn to deal with. And then help people with their everyday tasks like bathing and, dressing and eating, that kind of thing.
I mean, it's just it's one of those that's so hard on a psychological standpoint for the family member as well, because of the in and out of it as well. Like when you have good days and bad days, the good days can make you want to, as a family member, maybe be a little more positive than realistic.
Correct.
So it just, it's a tough one.
It is a very tough.
Let's get back. We got 2 minutes left, and I wanted to get back around to treatment if we could. And by the way, Jamie Godin-Fowler is with us talking Alzheimer's and dementia. Treatment, what options are available, and how far down the road are we with treatment?
Well, right now, dementia is not curable.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's basically helping someone live their best life today and treating the symptoms and helping caregivers get through it. There are some resources out there. There's the Alzheimer's Association. They're very good with helping family members. They can, give you a list of support groups. It's important to talk to people that really are going through the same thing you are. And, consider respite care. Some of the local nursing homes around here can provide respite to provide you a needed break and give you a chance to recharge. So look into that. And then, there's PACE. PACE is where I work. It's Programs for All-Inclusive Care of the Elderly. And we basically center our belief that it is better for the well-being of seniors with chronic care needs and their families to be cared for in the community for as long as possible. So if you're interested in that, you can visit our website or call us.
She is Jamie Godin-Fowler from PACE, the nurse practitioner with PACE. I can't thank you enough for the time and the information this morning. This has been
absolutely
remarkably enlightening. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yep. That's it's one of those ones where we're all still in the learning process, and it is remarkably tough on the family members as well as those who are going through it. All right, we got to take a quick break. We're going to check news. We're going to check traffic. We're going to check weather. When we come back from that break, Stephen Wagerspack from LABI is going to join the show, as he does every single Monday. Got a lot to dig in on with Stephen. Going to talk about, everything from, we'll check in North Louisiana and a number of events that LABI's got coming up. Let's get you caught up with CBS News. Traveling to North Louisiana for a 3-day constitutional amendment tour. Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, I did not expect to go that long talking Alzheimer's and dementia. She was fascinating. I'm always like, when it comes to stuff that we don't know how to fix with our own bodies and minds, everything is new news. Oh, I know. Well, it brings up a question that everybody has to deal with in their own lives at some point. Would you rather your relatives go early or go through this? Like she said, the biggest contributing factor to dementia is age. My old man died at like 63 years old, excuse me. I lost my dad a decade ago. Jesus, it's been a decade. 2012. God, it's 9 years.
I know I'm young, but I've still thought about if I were to get that, would I want my family to keep me alive, or would I rather them remember me for what?
Right. Well, my dad died of a heart attack. Well, actually, an upper GI bleed, but that triggered a heart attack. It was his fourth heart attack, excuse me. But I would give anything to have one more day anywhere along the way. even if it were a dementia-riddled day where he doesn't remember who he is, he would just be there. So what's... But I'm sure if I were walking down the other path, it would be equally difficult to say, you know, I just can't. This is so repetitive, like so draining of energy, and I can't concentrate on raising my kids because there's
It's unwinnable.
there is no right answer.
There isn't. You either... I don't even want to say it out loud. It's just not fun. I don't know. I haven't thought about it the way that you mentioned it that first occasion. Hopefully, no one I know has to make that decision.
Yeah. Byron says there are 2 genetic variants that are very predictive of Alzheimer's. I have both. I plan on using that info to explain my bad behavior.
Now, your WBRZ traffic update from Ashley Fouché.
Out the drive right now, we have some slowdowns on the Spillway Bridge, but the cause is now clear. There was an accident around mile marker 218 close to Kenner. That crash is gone, but traffic is still in recovery mode. So you can see eye lanes are open here, but there's still congestion on the Spillway. So take that 15 minutes to get to Airline Highway. We've got slow travels right now on I-12 westbound as more cars are hitting the road here. This is right around O'Neill, where we do have a traffic jam. Let's take outside. No jam on the bridge westbound, but look at this eastbound side. We're already seeing things slow down and pick up. So it'll be slow for the next 2 hours.
See an accident? Report it at WBRZ Traffic on Twitter. This report is brought to you by Shawbills, where you can get free tire repairs on all household cars when you purchase new tires. It's all part of the Charlie's Dozen, and it's only at Shawbills.
How do you choose the right attorney? I give you the answers at murphylawfirm.com. Don't allow insurance companies to take advantage of you. Make the right decision. Don't leave money on the table. Visit murphylawfirm.com.
Talk 173.
Call me, Attorney Pate Murphy, at 928-8800.
Wonderful. We'll be live momentarily and we'll get you on. Thank you. Please hold. He's ready. There's no benefits, right?
No, nothing produced. I wonder if that's true. Okay, I got to get complete collision in here.
We are off to a mucky start this week.
Oh my
Showers
God.
will be in and out all day, but slightly more active during the
Mm.
morning hours. Afternoon
Do you want me to,
temperatures
like,
will max out
give
in
you
the
a
upper 80s with high
cold open?
humidity.
You do
Overnight
one.
No, shit about.
muggy in the mid-70s. Tuesday will be the last rainy, muggy day in the forecast. A few showers will move through along a cold front, and Tuesday night temperatures will dip down into the 60s. Wednesday will bring cooler, drier air with afternoon temperatures struggling to reach the 80s and overnight lows dipping down into the 50s. The cool, dry conditions will last through the weekend.
737 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Time to talk a little business. Time to welcome in Stephen Wagasback, the president of the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry, who is traveling to North Louisiana voluntarily. Stephen, good morning, and what's up with that?
Heading up to God's country today, Brian. Heading up to God's country.
Oh,
and
my
go
goodness.
and preach the gospel of tax reform in the forms of Amendments 1 and 2 that are going to be in the ballot.
Yes.
Going up and meeting with business leaders and civic leaders and all kind of folks over a 3-day tour up there. I'm going to talk to them about how, give them a little update of what's going on in the economy and politics and all that stuff, but also talk about how important these amendments are and how much we need people to go out and support Amendments 1 and 2 in November.
So, yes, they are. And this was a big push during the legislative session. It got done during the legislative session, but that was not the finish line. What got done during the legislative session merely put it on the ballot. So, if anything, it's actually more pressing now.
That's right. It'll be all for due for nothing if we don't get these amendments done. And we've talked to them about some on the show, but I really want folks to understand this. Amendment 1 is critical, especially for small businesses in Louisiana they've been through enough, quite frankly, and they need a little help. And this will make it so much easier to comply with paying their sales taxes and to get them out of these audit traps and excessive costs that they have to deal with. So Amendment number 1 will simplify the way small businesses pay their sales taxes in Louisiana. It's wonky, but it's critically important. And Amendment 2, quite frankly, it improves our economic development rankings. It lowers our income tax rates. It does it in a revenue-neutral way for now, but also what it does is it puts us in the driver's seat for the first time in the years to come to be able to, quite frankly, reduce the income tax and make our income tax more competitive as our economy grows. And so this will be huge. It'll be a game changer, and they're very detail oriented. So that's why you have to go around, get in your car, drive, go talk to folks, and explain it to them.
Just to be sure, just to be clear, both Amendments 1 and 2, we're looking for yes votes here. There's no kind of legalese where people walk into the voting booth and have to vote no to make a yes. Correct?
No, we want yes, we want green, we want thumbs up, however you want to describe it. We definitely need support on that. And look, if we do that, what that means is that'll put kind of a bow on year 2 in the legislative agenda. And I would say that would make these 2 years kind of sneaky good of what we've been able to get out of this. Look, this is a challenging environment. You've got a legislature and administration that aren't always on the same page, let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And so finding a way to get things through there that are going to improve our prospects is challenging. And so we've tried hard to work with a bipartisan group to get that done. And last year that was tort reform. This year it can be tax reform. We know the infrastructure bill already passed. If these amendments pass, you're talking about 3 pretty good checks to tort reform, infrastructure, and tax reform in a challenging, crazy, chaotic environment that's got, pandemic sprinkled in from time to time. That's pretty impressive. And so if we can finish the job, get Amendments 1 and 2 done, I think that'll feel really good. And I think what we're starting to do is we're starting to create a template in the Capitol that, hey, every year, let's try to tackle one of these things that's been haunting Louisiana for decades. Let's try to do it in a bipartisan way, and let's get a good result. And if that becomes systemic over that Capitol, and all of a sudden sensible and smart decisions become the norm as compared to the opposite that we've seen over the years, we could be turning a corner. And so it's really important for folks to go out and support these amendments.
When it comes to actually both amendments, I don't think we even need to separate them. When it comes to both of these amendments, has the opposition pretty much disappeared here because it made its way through the legislative process already and has been signed off on by the governor?
We definitely expect pockets of opposition. Like a couple left-leaning groups have come out and criticized it lightly. But again, they haven't really put any effort towards it. And it's kind of surprising because they kind of came out of the blue on this one. Most of the local officials on the sales tax piece that we've worked with over the last year and a half ago, they've really, I think, done a good job of coming to the table and be open-minded to this reform. And so thus far, we haven't seen any firm opposition starting up there. So, as of right now, things appear to be good. But, the concern we have is tax policy is wonky. It's boring. It's legalese. It's not easy to understand.
Right.
And so you have to go and do the little things. You got to get in the car. You got to go out and meet with folks. You got to, help explain it to them. And that's what we're doing right now because you don't want confusion to turn into opposition.
Absolutely. Stephen Weggis back with the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry as our guest. I tell you, you mentioned tort reform, and then you mentioned the amendments 1 and 2, but you also mentioned infrastructure, which means I kind of want to transition up to the U.S. Capitol because the transportation bill is about to be taken up. What's LABI following on this one?
Man, you want to talk about get the popcorn out, and if you were a fan of the Jerry Springer show back in the day, you should probably watch Congress over the next week or two, because it's going to be a good old-fashioned food fight up there. Let me explain what's going on. So this week, the 27th, is the date that Speaker Pelosi and promised many of her Democrat colleagues and said, listen, we're gonna bring this infrastructure bill up by the 27th for a vote. I promise. Just give me some time to try to put together this other big spending bill. Well, that other big spending bill is becoming really hard for them to put together. It's slipped in timing, and they're not ready. And so there's talk that she's trying to go back to some of her base and say, hey, listen, maybe we shouldn't take that vote this week. And that's got the moderate Democrats really upset up there. At the same time, your AOC progressive Democrats are coming out and saying they're going to kill the transportation bill unless they get their huge, massive spending bill first. Last night, Senate parliamentarian said that you can't put amnesty in that map for immigration in that huge bill, which has angered progressives and messed up their plan even more. I mean, man, this is the tip of the iceberg. And so it is going to be really chaotic up there. And I think if you're a Louisianan who's just like, I'm bored of all this, what do I need to pay attention to? The true question is this. There's a 1.2 transportation bill that has good investments for Louisiana and many other states. If that could be taken alone on its own, that's productive. That's helpful. That helps us move the needle. If they try to tie that other $3.5 trillion bill, then it becomes, more bad than good. The whole effort needs to be stopped, and you just need to come back and reset and come back next year after maybe some changes in midterm elections and all that stuff. But as of right now, how Speaker Pelosi handles kind of the chaotic chessboard she's staring at right now is going to decide whether you can even get a straight up and down vote on that 1.2, or if it's going to get cobbled together in just a maze of problems.
Okay, so if it gets cobbled together in a maze of problems, can the narrative be shifted towards the progressive end actually being the opposite of progressive?
Look, there's plenty of spinmeisters who are going to try to put together the narrative. Not really my concern, nor do I've kind of got out of the business of trying to predict narratives for D.C.
True.
But I would tell you this. I think our delegation is working real hard. If you've seen some of the videos, look, obviously everyone knows Senator Cassie has worked on that infrastructure bill.
Yeah.
But the other parts of our delegation have done a really good job of explaining the huge problems with the $3.5 trillion spending bill. I mean, they both are playing their role very well. If you see some of this video footage of Congressman Graves in some of these committee hearings, he is undressing the argument the progressive left is trying to make on why we need these massive social engineering programs coming on. He is one by one just deconstructing all that very, very effectively. So our delegation is doing a good job of trying to pound the message of give us an up or down on 1.2, stop all this other foolishness. And oh, by the way, this is also the same time where Congress is trying to go in and get the debt limit raised so they can pay their bills. So you're talking about a Congress that's trying to raise the debt limit to pay old debt and then pile on over $5 trillion more in debt right now while they're all fighting each other. It's going to be kind of a kooky couple of weeks in D.C.
It's going to be ridiculous. And, yeah, the debt limit thing, it's just where the argument's going there. If we don't raise the debt limit, then we default on everything. We have to, blah, blah, blah. We're painted in a corner. So we get ourselves out of that painted corner only to repaint ourselves in a corner the next time a crisis rolls around.
Exactly. Only in that town does that make sense. Right?
I know.
We have to raise the debt limit because we've got too much debt. And, oh, by the way, let's shovel about $5 trillion more on top of it while we're at it.
I mean, yeah, where we're at with this current pandemic and the spending habits before the pandemic, it's like it's washed everything else away just to start fresh and do the exact same thing over again. Which means we don't need to focus on Washington, D.C. right now. There's enough going on up there to drive you crazy. Let's talk a little bit about Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. Y'all have some events coming up.
Yeah, and this is the time of year where legislators are in session. We do different events to try to get our members together and all that. But there's a couple of them we do that kind of help people with their professional development. In the first week of October, we have our workers' comp seminar. It is the best in the state. If you are an attorney or if you're in insurance or you're in HR or something, and you want to get the latest and greatest on what workers' comp changes are out there, which is so critical to so many companies to keep their costs down and their workforce healthy, we have the best conference there is. You walk away with all the information up to speed. You know all the experts. You can go to our website and sign up for that. That's open to anyone and everyone. So our workers' comp seminar in the first week of October is always hotly attended. We want folks to look at that. Also, a few weeks later, we have our impact seminar where if you're an attorney or a CPA, you're trying to get your CLE training for the year, we bring in the best experts from the Supreme Court, from the legislature, from the business community to talk about the hot issues. You can get your credits and get smarter at the same time. And then lastly, in November coming up, we have our Free Enterprise Awards where we're going to recognize great companies and great leaders around the state that are doing great things to promote free enterprise and also to help Louisiana reach its potential. You can sign up and recommend someone to win one of those awards now, or you can just show up on the 11th and join us at a huge party where we celebrate that and hopefully celebrate the beginning of a game day weekend where LSU takes care of Arkansas that weekend. So a lot coming up. You can find all that at our website, and we'd love to kind of have you participate in any or all that.
Got less than 60 seconds to go with Stephen Wagerspack from LABI. You mentioned the word attendance. You mentioned the word show up. Am I to understand that we've moved from beyond virtual events to actually get to utilize that killer headquarters you've got downtown?
Yes. I mean, obviously we're being smart and safe like everyone is, and that's what we're going to continue to do. But having said that, we are using our space. It's time for us to get people near each other, around each other, feed off our energy. We've got big problems to tackle, and you can't do it living in a vacuum.
No, exactly.
You got to be around other folks, and we're going to help make that happen.
And that's where the magic happens, and that's why y'all built that building. I mean, you can't be an association if you don't associate.
Amen.
Stephen
Look
Wagerspack.
at you.
Oh, I know, right? Little turn of phrase. Good luck in North Louisiana over the next few days. Let's get this. Let's bring this home. It's on the ballot. Let's make it happen.
All right, big guy. Have a great week.
You too. We'll talk to you soon. Talk to you next week, in fact. Right now, here comes Your Money Now. Yeah, I'm way behind. I know. I'll get it. I just had two ridiculously good conversations, though. I wasn't leaving room to have 60 seconds on the back end, and I ate it up on both of them. Oh, well. Bees what it bees, dude. All right, what do we got? Tiffany says, you're so right. You definitely have to explain it. People see the word tax, and they think they need to vote no. That is correct. Yeah, but where we're at with this one is you're voting in favor of tax reform, not voting in favor of a tax. So centralized sales tax collection is going to be a game changer in Louisiana. We don't even realize it yet. What's going to be amazing is for the same investment as a citizen, I'm not going to be taxed more, but the state's going to collect more. Imagine that. I'm going to have to run back downstairs again at the top of the hour. I got stuff to print for next hour that wasn't in my email before this. Okay, which one came first chronologically, Complete or Mathern's? Okay, then let me knock out Complete Collision since it was earlier. Okay. Muya, then Complete. All right. I'll do Muya here. Is it a 60 for Dave? Yeah, please. Yeah. No, I'll do it after traffic. Ooh, Scoozy. Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, the Ramsey promo played.
This is Skip Burton, and as a coach for over 50 years and the father of 4 daughters, we've had a lot of happiness and accumulated a lot.
A lot of happiness.
Storage wants your stuff. Now open in Baton Rouge. Visit dependablestorage.com. Now, your WBRZ traffic update from Ashley Fouché.
Out the drive right now, we have some slowdowns on the Spillway Bridge, but the cause is now clear. There was an accident around mile marker 218 close to Kenner.
The Ramsey promo played anyway.
But traffic is still in recovery
Yeah.
mode, so you can see all lanes are open here, but there's still congestion.
Oh, I just heard a Dave Ramsey promo. Wait, it might have been a different Dave Ramsey promo. Okay, the 30 played. Is this? This sounds up to date. Okay. Wait, really? Because this is up to date. The accident that was on the bridge is cleared.
I just did one.
You just did one. Okay. I'm. No, I know. There's nothing we can do. I know. Yeah, bump. Seven 7:55 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Going to get to the outside in just a minute. Thanks again to Stephen Wagasback for hopping on board as he does every week. That is the mission, like a laser focus for this coming fall, is centralized sales tax collection and tax. Both amendments equally important. We will check back in with Stephen at the exact same time next Monday. Like I said, getting you to the outside in 60 seconds. Got to ask you first, though, what are you doing for lunch today? Can I interest you in a burger? Can I interest you in Mooyah? Oh, they were up here for Foodie Friday last Friday morning and brought in a double Diablo for me. And then, like 9 hamburgers they brought up here last week. It was kind of ridiculous. Also, and I don't talk about this enough, I put it, the real ice cream milkshakes. So, full disclosure, I do my weigh-ins on Friday, so I'll put the milkshake in the freezer until I got back from the weigh-in. The Texas pecan milkshake, let me put this in no uncertain terms. Remember the movie New Jack City? If Nino Brown came back for a New Jack City 2, he wouldn't sell crack. He would sell the Texas pecan milkshake. I kid you not, eyes roll back in your head like a shark biting into a surfer. It was amazing. And, of course, the full selection of burgers they've got at both locations. Both Bluebonnet at Highland and Segan just north of Industrialplex. The ingredients are top-notch. The vegetables are cut fresh daily. The potato buns are baked fresh daily. The certified Angus beef makes all the difference in the world. The service is irreplaceable. If you got to meet, or you saw last Friday, 2 of the folks from Mooyah in here. Of course, Levandro's in here as well. But it's just an example of how great the service is at both locations of Mooyah. Bluebonnet at Highland, Segan just north of Industrialplex. Swing by if you don't have lunch plans yet today. Have a burger at Mooyah. All right, time for the outside in. Let's get it. Seriously, if that Texas pecan shake from Mooyah is like crack from New Jack City, then call me Pookie because I'm in all day long. All right, here comes the outside, and we're starting off in Point Competing Parish. Actually, you know what? All of our stories this morning are very violent in nature. Let's start off Point Competing Parish. 2 people are dead. 1 person is wounded after a triple shooting Friday night. Point Committee Parish Sheriff's Office said Friday around 9:30 p.m. Morris Hollins shot 3 of his family members during a family gathering. A spokesperson said 2 people had been shot in the chest at a close range. They were found dead at the road. They were later identified as 34-year-old Howard Hollins Jr. and 25-year-old Jarrell Hollins. 1 person suffering from a shot to the hip was airlifted to a Baton Rouge hospital. Their condition is unknown. Deputies said Hollins, a Point Capee Parish resident, was still at large at the time of this reporting. Over to St. Landry Parish, 5 family members were shot while inside of their home Saturday night when someone opened fire from the outside. KLFY out of Lafayette is reporting the shooting happened around 8 p.m. Saturday. Police said all the victims had been taken to hospital in personal vehicles. Officers have not released names nor ages of the victims, said the injuries range from critical to moderate. Over next to West Baton Rouge Parish as the violent weekend continued. 1 person is dead following a shooting at a bar early Saturday morning. According to West Baton Rouge Sheriff Major Zach Simmers, the victims was shot near Rack's Bar, taken to a hospital where they later passed away. A 17-year-old was arrested Saturday night, charged with second-degree murder in relation to that. That is a look at a very violent weekend for the outside in. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to check our news. CBS News coming your way right now. We'll check traffic and weather on the back end of that news broadcast. After that, Hour 3 coming your way. Jake will have this day in history to lead things off. Coming up next, right here on Talk 107.3 FM. All right. Be right back. Yep. I do not want to get into this with this woman. Do I? Yes, please. get this going. Where is Jeff Curley's email? Wait.
Talk 173. Wonderful. We're going to be live. We'll get you on in a couple minutes.
Do what? Is that Valorie? She called back. Ask her if she wants to call back in about 15 minutes because she's early. 10 minutes. She's early. 804 Talk 107.3 FM. WBRP Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Hour 3 coming your way right now. Brian here with you. Jake producing. We're going to have State Representative Valorie Hodges on in our next segment. Got a lot to talk about when it comes to COVID-19 from a statewide level. We're going to get into some areas that I don't know if we're ready for, but we'll get there. Let's talk vaccines. Let's talk treatments. Let's talk about battling COVID-19. What can the state legislature actually do in this regard? Valorie Hodges coming up in our next segment. Stephen Weber, actor Stephen Weber, joined me. It's a pre-recorded interview, but his new show, it's not a new show, but it's new to him. Stephen Weber joined the cast of Chicago Med. Season 7 begins this week. We chat with Stephen Weber at 8:40. Right now, though, this is the time in the show where Jake takes us back in time for this day in history. All right, what do you got, Jake?
Well, starting off this Monday, we have 1814, Star Spangled Banner, published as a song. Lyrics by Francis Scott Key, tuned by John Stafford Smith.
John Stafford Smith gets no credit there, right?
Couldn't
I mean,
tell you that
it's
is
all
until
Francis Scott Key, and then his name just pops up like he had something to do with it.
There's always those in history. Alas, we go to 1893.
Okay.
The first gasoline-powered car debuts in Springfield, Massachusetts.
Nice.
1919, legendary baseball slugger Babe Ruth ties Ned Williamson's MLB mark of 27 home runs with a ninth-inning blast in Boston Red Sox 4-3 win against Chicago White Sox.
All right, good deal.
Sultan of Swat, the Colossus of Clout. Anyways, 1932, Mahatma Gandhi begins a hunger strike against the way Hindu untouchables are treated. Big movement on the world news.
All right.
Back in 1919.
Never understood a hunger strike.
1932, excuse me.
Never understood a hunger strike. It's like, I'm never going to eat again. Okay. Go ahead. Have at it, Chief.
1985, Walt Disney World's 200 millionth guest.
Really?
Yep. About, what would that be, a little less than 40 years ago?
Yeah, thereabouts. I mean,
200 million.
Yeah. The fact that they're still counting, like at a certain point, is like maybe
Eventually
we
you get
off
more
by
than,
about
like, the
we're
world-
off by 5. We got to start over again. We got to start over.
1987, Chicago running back Walter Payton scores his NFL record 107th rushing touchdown in the Bears' 20-3 victory over Tampa Bay. Legend of the game. Never got to watch him play, obviously, but I heard he's really good. He's pretty
Sweetness,
decent at
the
whole-
best. Yeah, one of the best of all time.
Yeah, he's not too bad at the whole football thing. 2013, Grand Theft Auto becomes the fastest entertainment product to reach $1 billion in sales.
That's crazy.
Doesn't surprise me in the
No,
slightest.
not at all.
Grand Theft
Just the thought of a
is-
video game being $1 billion product.
Oh, it's only going to get bigger as
that
time
in and
goes
of
on,
itself.
man. I promise you that. Yeah, Grand Theft Auto came out years and years ago, and they're still making stuff for it, and it's still printing money like hotcakes. 2019, Batman Day. 80th anniversary of the first Batman comic.
Wow, I didn't realize Batman was that old.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
It's like one of the oldest. I'm not sure if it's the oldest superhero, but it's definitely up there. It's like close. But that'll conclude it for the historic events. I'm going to take it over to the birthdays. First off, we have John Bernthal turning 44 today.
Who?
He's the Punisher. He was in The Walking Dead.
Oh, cool.
Very, very cool actor. I really like him. George R.R. Martin, author of Game of Thrones,
Yeah.
turns 72 today. Please finish your series. Oh, my. Anyways. Arn Anderson, for any wrestling fans out there, he turns 63, one of the members of the Four Horsemen.
I remember that name.
Arn Anderson.
Yeah.
Ric Flair. Yeah, stuff like that. I didn't know how to pronounce his last name, but Khabib, the UFC fighter, turns 33. He's
All
pretty
right.
decent at the whole fighting thing. We got an LSU birthday, actually. Grant Delpit turns
Hey!
23 today. Happy birthday to you.
Big time.
And
is he playing this year or is he still hurt?
honestly, I haven't heard anything
Yeah, me
about
neither.
him.
I haven't heard much.
I hope he's playing. I want to say he's playing because we would have heard about the injury.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well. Red Auerbach he was born on this day in 1917. He has since passed, obviously, but,
Well, yeah.
you know, shout-outs to him. That'll conclude it for the birthdays, unless you have any.
Sophia Loren.
Happy birthday to Sophia.
Actress Sophia Loren.
All right, that'll move us on to deaths. I couldn't find any except for one, which is probably obscure. Brian Clough. He is a big influence on soccer over in Europe from many years prior. He died on this day in 2004.
Okay.
You have any deaths for us?
No.
Well, me neither. That was it. Moving on to holidays. Starting off, it's actually a very food-centric day for national holidays. First off, we have National Fried Rice Day.
Okay.
National Pepperoni Pizza Day.
That's the one I've got. Nothing wrong with pepperoni pizza. You can never go wrong. Pepperoni pizza is like the perfect combination.
If you're going for toppings on a pizza, it's the safest bet for sure.
Yeah.
But, sometimes you got to spice it up. Speaking of spice it up, National Queso Day. Spicy queso's the best. And finally, the last holiday that I have here is National Punch Day.
Okay. Wait, punch is in like something you drink or
Yes,
like throwing
the drink,
a punch?
not the
Okay.
physical action.
Gotcha.
And that will conclude this day in history.
Well, I greatly appreciate it, Jake, as always. We're going to take a break here in just a second. When we come back from that break, we're going to talk about COVID treatments and vaccine mandates with State Representative Valorie Hodges. Before we take that break, though, got to take 60 seconds to tell you about the folks over at Complete Collision Center. They've got two locations. 19511 Plank Road in Zachary, 9848 Perkins Road in Baton Rouge. That is Perkins just east of Bluebonnet. Both locations provide the same great service, the same array of services. What sets Complete Collision apart is the training, is the know-how, is the knowledge, is the commitment to continuing education. They are certified by more than a dozen major car manufacturers to make sure that when your car leaves their shop, it is back to as good as it was when it came off the assembly line in the first place. They bring things back to new. Now, a lot of shops have deals hammered out with the insurance company. What you get there is the cheapest fix. What you get there is just back out on the road quickly, not necessarily safely. If you go to a place that your insurance company recommends, it's more than likely that your insurance company has a deal hammered out with them, which makes the insurance company the customer, not you. That's not the case with Complete Collision Center. Like I said, they've got more than a dozen major car manufacturers they're certified by. They've also got the iCar Gold Class certification. That immediately puts them in the top 15% of body shops nationwide. They'll work with you to battle your insurance company, and there will be a battle, to battle your insurance company to make sure you're taken care of. Don't let who you choose to repair your vehicle be your second accident. Check them out online at CompleteCollision.com, CompleteCollision.com. Yep. Oh, man. Oh, goodness gracious. All right. Okay. Okay. Okay.
See an accident? Report it at WBRZ Traffic on Twitter. This report is brought to you by Shawbills, where you can get free tire repairs on all household cars when you purchase new tires. It's all part of the Charlie's Dozen, and it's only at Shawbills.
816 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Going to be joined by State Representative Valorie Hodges here in just a minute. Talk a little bit about COVID-19 in a number of different, from a number of different fronts. Before we get to that, though, did you make it out to campus Saturday for the game? And did you swing by Mathern's Market on Nicholson at Skip Burtman Drive? Picking up all your tailgating essentials. You could do it every Saturday. Although, you know what? This Saturday, 11 a.m. kickoff for an away game. I'm just guessing here you might want to knock out your grocery shopping before Saturday. I'm just guessing here, but if you plan on having some people over for the game, maybe swing by Friday and get all your tailgate essentials for your backyard tailgate. The craft beer, all the groceries that go along with it. You can get them at Mathern's, both locations of Mathern's, but I'd be remiss if I didn't remind you about the app. The app has been so vital throughout COVID-19 as we're trying to distance ourselves, not come into contact with folks as frequently. The app from Mathern's, the Mathern's app is fantastic. You can get your grocery shopping done before you leave work. Pull into the parking lot. They'll bring it out to the car. You don't have to go inside. You don't have to worry about digging the mask back out again. You just bring it right out to your car. Take care of it, and save yourself a little time along the way. That app, by the way, works at both locations, Mathern's and Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center or downtown on 3rd Street. All week long, they've got lunch specials every single day. If you're not following them on Facebook, you should be. Download the Mathern's app right now. Specials running on the app as well. And then get yourself squared away for game day. 11 a.m. kickoff, gross. But nonetheless, you can still get everything taken care of with the Mathern's app today. All right. Expected to be joined by State Representative Valorie Hodges any minute now as she sent a letter to Louisiana's Republican Party Chairman Louis Gerbich about his leadership of the GOP in Louisiana, but asking that he take a bold stand against the recent proclamations for the unilateral vaccine mandates of President Biden. Valorie says these are the actions of a communist dictator routinely taken, not by an American president. Representative Hodges says individuals and their doctors should be making health care decisions, not the government. There's no statutory authority for the executive branch of our federal government to mandate private businesses and force these personal medical choices. We should not have to choose between keeping our jobs and taking a vaccine. That sounds like dictatorship. She's got some valid points within here, and we're going to talk with her as soon as she hops back on the hotline here. Also, still to come on the show today, in our next segment, actor Steven Weber. He's on the cast of Chicago Med. They will be back at it this week. The new season 7 of Chicago Med, premieres this week. If you're wondering, why do I know the name Steven Weber? Remember the show Wings from back in the 90s? Like the two brothers own the airline, Sandpiper Air. Why do I remember it was called Sandpiper Air? They owned the little bitty airline, and you had Monk was the taxi driver, Antonio Scarpacci, played by Tony Shalhoub. Lowell was the mechanic. Well, he went on to do a number of movies, including Sideways. Anyway, we'll talk with Steven Weber. Full disclosure, that is a recorded interview. Fun conversation. Very fun conversation. Very much looking forward to it. All right, joining us right now to talk a little bit about COVID-19 and vaccine mandate shovedowns is State Representative Valorie Hodges. Valorie, welcome back to the show. How are you this morning?
Hey, Brian. I'm great. How are you?
I am doing very well. I have a feeling during this conversation we're going to be in lockstep on one issue and completely polar opposites on another. So let's start with the fun one. That is vaccine mandates. You have a serious problem with what the Biden administration pushed down And I'm just going to give you the floor. Talk to me. What are we looking at here?
Okay. Well, I think what we're talking about, Brian, is the rule of law and the role of government.
Yes.
And I believe, and I think most attorneys I've talked to and most people that I've talked to believe that Joe Biden's mandating employers to require people to take the vaccine or lose their job is not only unconstitutional, but it's quite frightening. And it's shocking to me because only a couple of months ago, I don't know if you remember this, but Joe Biden came on TV and said, no, we cannot mandate this. There's no constitutional authority to mandate this. And the next day, Jen Psaki comes on to say, they've been saying that, just beating the drum. We cannot mandate this. It's unconstitutional. And then, a week ago, they come on and say that we are going to mandate it. And so there's such flip-flopping back and forth. And so that's what causes so much confusion in the public because it's, if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask. Then now you do have to wear a mask. And there's so much confusion. But with this mandate thing, there shouldn't be no confusion about the statutory authority that he has for a mandate like this. It violates laws in place that protect our personal freedom and our right to privacy. And so, I've got some information in front of me that states the law on this and that protects our constitutional rights to refuse health care if that's what we want. Mm-hmm. And so I challenge someone to show me the law. Show me the law. I'm a lawmaker. Show me the law where you can mandate someone to take something into their body that they do not want or lose their job. And so there is no law, and I believe that we are a nation of laws and not mandates. And so people should be concerned about this because if the president can mandate you to violate your constitutional right of you can refuse health care to the point if you want to die, you can, to say if they can do this, what else can they do? What other rights can they take away? And that's the thing that concerns me because it's a blatant disregard of the Constitution. And I believe when a leader starts forcing things like this, it's borderline tyrannical. So and we say enough is enough.
Yes, and so we get to the borderline tyrannical part, and I'm that always walks down a dangerous path because the what's next argument never leads to a what's next. But you're not wrong, and that which is not specifically addressed in the Constitution kicks back down to the states. Now, if you wanted to make the argument that as an at-will work state, every individual employer can fire whoever they want if they're not vaccinated, that's cool, but it's up to the employer within this state, not the federal government, to make that call.
Exactly. And for him to say we're going to fine each employer $14,000 if they don't enforce this, that's just outrageous because businesses can't afford that. So that's the stick that they're going to beat you with if you don't enforce it. And I do know people who are don't want to enforce this, but they're like, but I can't afford $14,000 per employer. And so right now we're not going to enforce this. We have no constitutional authority to enforce this. Now, a week ago, it was, well, we're going to enforce it on employers of 100 or more and $14,000 if you don't. So then it will move to, what if it's 50? Well, what if it's 10? And so where do you stop? You draw the line at the Constitution and at the statutory authority that protects people from making these choices to their own health care. Look, this is we've got to stop hiding from this issue. And the president is intruding on our constitutional rights. And this is not about whether you're pro-vaccine or anti-vaccine. The issue is freedom. And this is America. This is not Afghanistan. This is not China, where they make you do things that you don't want to do. When we saw this whole Me Too movement, and to keep my job, I had to do certain things with my boss, and so the Me Too movement was all out there, just going crazy, pushing back against this because it's my body, and I shouldn't be coerced to be forced to do anything with my body against my will. But somehow this is different, and I believe that people, whether you're Democrat or Republican or you're right or left or whatever, liberal or conservative, I think we should be concerned about the overreach of this constitutional mandate. I mean, this unconstitutional mandate that he's putting in place.
The overreach is just one aspect of it because there are multiple other aspects that get called into question. Number two is the arbitrary number of 100 employees or more. Why does that make a difference? And if so, if you're an employer who has anything over 100, do you just start firing people to get yourself under the number so that you can not have to comply to this?
Right, right. So, and I like I said, Brian, I believe that, why the flip flop? Why just, 5 to 6 weeks ago, he said, out of his own mouth, this is unconstitutional. We have no authority to do this. Jen Psaki said the same thing repeatedly. And so here we are with this. So, when we start institutionalizing medical mandates, that we've never done that and enforced employers to do that and fine them, and that sort of looks like communism to me. And I think that we're not a communist nation, but we're a nation of freedom, and I think we should all be fighting for our freedom. And like I said, I know whether you're vaccinated or you're not vaccinated or you're waiting or whatever the issue is, the vaccination is not necessarily the issue. It's the federal overreach and the fact that the president would try to scare people. And so far, he hasn't even put anything down. OSHA has not promulgated rules. So what are they waiting for?
But, I mean, be careful. Be careful what you wish for, Valorie.
I don't wish for that.
No, I know. But
lawsuits can't even be filed against the government yet. So these things, I believe, Brian, are going to be decided in the Supreme Court. There's already cases that are being filed already here in Louisiana against these hospitals that are mandating these doctors and nurses take this. And so you're talking about doctors, healthcare professionals, the doctors and the nurses and the physician's assistants who are dealing with these sick people, and they're saying, I don't feel good taking vaccine yet. And they're there with the sick people. And so we're going to force them that they've been treating people for a year and a half, and we're going to say, you're going to lose your job or if you don't take this vaccination. Well, why? They've already been treating them for a year and a half, and then we're certainly going to have a shortage of healthcare professionals. And then that whole message is, well, there's a shortage. We're overrun with COVID patients when it's so many people are quitting their jobs. I went to a meeting yesterday. Several nurses were there. Every day I get a call from a nurse that says, I'm quitting my job. I already quit. And it's unconscionable that they're forcing nurses and doctors to leave their profession that they literally will lay down their life for to do, because they won't do something that the president feels like they must do.
Our own governor has said repeatedly, you're not going to enforce your way out of this. When it comes to a mask mandate, when it comes to vaccines, when it comes to anything, Governor John Bel Edwards has said repeatedly, you're not going to, if we have to enforce our way out of this, we've already lost. I believe that's one of his quotes along the way with this. So from a statewide level, moving it from the nation down to a statewide level, because that's where your job kicks in, what can a state representative do outside of just full-throated opposition? What can a state representative do to head this off at the pass?
Well, there's several things that we could do. I've had discussions with some of my colleagues who will talk about this. We could cut the budget of employers who do enforce this. We could cut their not the budget. We give so many tax credits and we give so much money away, and so we could go in and deal like the Bond Commission did a month ago in New Orleans when she said you can't you go in a restaurant, you can't go to football games, you can't attend any public events unless you show proof of vaccination. In fact, my daughter went down there Saturday with some friends, and they went to a restaurant, and they were asked to show their vaccination status, and two of the friends said, well, we already had COVID. We just had it a month ago. Right. And they said, well, it doesn't matter. We have to see your vaccination status, and they ran them out of the restaurant. And so she put that in place, I guess, 5-6 weeks ago, and then the Bond Commission cut her budget. I think it was $20 million. But they restored it on Friday at Bond Commission. And I don't know really why they did that, because her mandate is still in place. But see, if we have that here in Baton Rouge, that's the scary part about it, that you can't participate in society. If that it's in New Orleans right now, and then if we have a mayor here that decides we're going to do that in Baton Rouge, you can't eat in a restaurant, and that's private medical information. If you can't eat it, you can't go eat in a restaurant. What if they say you can't go to a grocery store?
Yeah.
Where does it stop? And that's the thing, it's got to stop.
Or a pharmacy, for that matter. In the meanwhile, you know what? We're not nearly done, but we are straight up out of time. State Representative Valorie Hodges, can I get you back on a little bit later on in the week or possibly next week to pick this conversation back up again?
Sure.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yes, thank you. She opened so many Pandora's boxes there. There's so much ground to cover. We've got CBS News coming your way. right here at the bottom of the hour. Then our own news, traffic, and weather next. Damn it. The problem is if you pull tax incentives away from businesses, then all you're doing, oh man, all you're doing is exactly what you're accusing the other side of doing. It's no longer the principle that matters. It's just your take on the issue that matters at that point. God. And we did not get into ivermectin, and I don't want to get into ivermectin because ivermectin has nothing to do with COVID-19.
Okay, so how are we doing this interview here?
Oh, have you trimmed it to where? Let me. I'm gonna run down the hall. I'll be back in like 3 minutes. Oh yeah. That's a tough course too. Yeah, seriously. Have you talked to Mitch? Okay. Let him know you're thinking about him, praying for him and whatnot. Janie got into an accident. Is in the hospital in Midland, Texas. Mitch and Catherine took off last night to go up there. Yeah.
Now, your WBRZ traffic update from Ashley Boucher.
Good morning. All lanes are open on the Mississippi River Bridge after an earlier crash sat there for about an hour. So we're all in the clear here, but the traffic isn't clear. So the lane is open. Traffic
Huh?
is still congested across the
Who's Robert Douglas?
I'm sorry, you might be calling into the wrong station.
actually it started a little worse than it did when the
Robert
crash was
Douglas?
there. 36 minutes locked over Perkins right now. Also slow on I-110.
Looking for me? What about?
7 minutes now
What are you
to
calling
Airline
for again,
Highway,
sir?
so things are starting to improve, but still slow, leaving Denham Springs. Also, all lanes are open. We had a crash earlier between Sorrento and French.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
See an accident? Reported at WBRZ traffic on Twitter. Report is brought to you by
It's fine.
Shawbills, where you can get free tire
Put him on hold. Put him on hold.
Let me put you on hold for a moment and I'll get in touch with you.
It's all part of the Charlie's Dozen,
Sorry
and
about
it's
that.
only at Shawbills.
I may have double booked.
Okay.
We'll get to both.
Well, I didn't realize you wanted me to click on that. I thought.
Open up today's folder. No, don't worry about it. Open up today's folder. I resaved it as an MP3 in today's folder. So
Oh, it's cut?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
Yeah.
You just asked me if I cut it.
No, I did, and then I went down the hall and cut it.
With the new administration in office, are you concerned about
Hey, Robert.
changes and
Hey, man. Okay, so I had sent this time out as a potential time slot and never got confirmation back. So, yeah, I didn't know this was firm. I didn't know this was booked. But we can get you in here real quick. So we're going to go about 3 or 4 minutes just to talk about what Toastmasters is and what the open house is. What is your title with? No, all good, man. And if she did, then I must have missed an email somewhere along the way. But no problem. Robert, what's your title? Okay. All right. Hang tight for me for just a second. Coming your way in a minute, okay? All right, thanks. So we're going to blow out your money now in order to get Steven Weber in. We're going to do this for 5 minutes and then that. And we're just going to manage the log on the way back in as best we can. We'll go from here to Steven Weber to the break, and then I'll close it out on the back end for it's going to screw up the log, but Douglas, you don't have to post this one online. Yep, he did. She did. Damn it. I completely missed this email. Shit.
Tuesday will be the last rainy, muggy day in the forecast. A few showers will move through along a cold front, and Tuesday night temperatures will dip down into the 60s. Wednesday will bring cooler, drier air with afternoon temperatures struggling to reach the 80s, and overnight lows dipping down into the 50s. The cool, dry conditions will last.
838 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, moving right along. Hour 3 of Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. I'm going to catch up with actor Steven Weber in about 6 minutes from right now. Right now, though, we are going to shift gears. You know, one of the biggest fears people have is public speaking. It's like statistically every single year, it ranks right up there. And there are a number of benefits to getting good at that. There are a number of benefits to getting over the hump when it comes to that, and one of the groups that can help out in that regard is Toastmasters. Robert Douglas is the Vice President of Membership for Toastmasters. He joins us now. Robert, welcome to Talk 107.3. How are you, man?
I'm doing good. Thank you, Brian.
Glad to have you on here this morning. Glad we can get connected. Y'all have an open house event we're going to talk about in a little bit, but let's start with the basics. I mean, year in and year out, public speaking is probably the biggest fear, if not one of the biggest fears that are out there. First of all, why is that, and why is it important to get past it?
Yeah, I think the main fear is just being able to speak in front of people. Toastmasters International saw this way back in 1924 when they were started. And since that time, they've amassed 15,800 clubs across the international slate with 300,000 plus members located in 114 countries. Right here in Baton Rouge, we have several clubs to offer people to come out in a positive learning environment, no intimidation, to get that speaking ability up as well as leadership skills.
What goes into learning about this? Like, how do you get from point A to point B? How does Toastmasters help with that?
Yeah, well, what Toastmasters has is a program called Pathways. And in that program, there's 8 different paths, including presentation mastery, dynamic leadership, innovative planning, team collaboration. And each one of these is a program of different tasks that has to be performed to get that individual to better their skills and learn. Now, it's not an intimidating atmosphere, again, because you're typically given a mentor to help you along the way. So you're not just put out there on your own. Then when you get in front of the group and speak, you have what we call feedback. And that allows you to tune your skills to get even better for your next encounter.
How quickly can people adapt to this? Is this a process that that takes time? I mean, I would assume, like most things in life, practice and repetition. That's where it's at.
Yeah, so I think to go back to what you say, it's going at your own pace and we try to build you or support you in whatever pace. Now, our format is that we have meetings every Monday. In the COVID environment today, we have every other meeting is a Zoom meeting. So for those who are still a little leery about coming out, you still can learn about us and participate with us on Zoom every other Monday. On the Mondays that we do come and we have the camaraderie, you can get a face-to-face taste of what this is all about.
Robert Douglas, the VP membership for Toastmasters, is our guest. Y'all have an open house coming up. Tell me all about it.
The open house is tonight at 6 o'clock p.m. at the Blue Bonnet Library. And what we do, we just open our doors for anyone who would just like to come in and learn about Toastmasters. And we'll take you through what a normal Toastmasters meeting is all about. We'll have prepared speakers. We'll have what we call table topics. That's an impromptu piece of our program that lets people just stand up on their feet at the last minute and answer or speak for a minute to a certain topic. So we'll be showing all of that tonight of what we're all about at this open house, 6 o'clock at the Blue Bonnet Library.
I assume free to attend. Is there any pre-registration needed?
No need to pre-register. No need to. There's no fee. It's open. Just please come and enjoy.
Blue Bonnet Library, 6 p.m. tonight. It is. It's an important hump to get over. It's one that a lot of people shy away from. In the meanwhile, we greatly appreciate the time, Robert. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely, Robert Douglas with Toastmasters. It's It always ranks up there. It always shows up as being one of the biggest fears, and very, very easy to get past. All right. Last Friday, after the show, I got the chance to catch up with Steven Weber. If you don't know who Steven Weber is, he was on the show Wings. Remember Wings from the 90s? It was in syndication like forever. Like there was a stretch in the early 2000s where you could not turn on USA without seeing Wings. So Steven's been in a million different shows. NCIS New Orleans, if we want to make it local. He's been in a million different shows. He's now joining the cast of Chicago Med, and I got to catch up with him last Friday. We are joined right now by Steven Weber. You probably know him from Wings, maybe NCIS New Orleans if we can get local. If you've got a 5-year-old like I do, you might know him from Puppy Dog Pals, and he'll always be Jack Rudolph from Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip. But now he's on Chicago Med as well. Steven Weber, welcome to Talk 107.3. How are you, sir?
After that introduction, I feel great.
Okay.
Wow, I matter. I matter to many demographics.
You absolutely do. Look, I'm a father of 3. I've got a 5-year-old. I cannot believe I'm leading with Puppy Dog Pals while talking to Steven Weber. But, okay.
Well, listen,
yeah.
It's a great show. Puppy Dog Pals is great, man. Great music, great characters. I love working on that show.
It's one of those ones where even if my kid's not in the room, I'll be like, am I still watching this? I'm a grown man.
Oh, listen, I used to do that with my kids, man. My boys are 18 and 20, and I used to watch things called the Backyardigans and, you know, and Thomas the Tank Engine or whatever.
Yes.
I mean, I would watch these just to calm myself down at the end of a day, you know.
Absolutely. It is amazing how it can be that spellbinding. You have got a career that has spanned a lot of genres. Side note, I am a huge Studio 60 fan, so you're always going to be Jack Rudolph to me.
Right.
So,
but that was actually one of my favorite, if not my favorite TV role. I mean, I've done a bunch that I've really enjoyed, but that was a sweet role and, of course, brilliantly written. So it was a real privilege. So I thank you for that.
No, absolutely. It's prime Aaron Sorkin, and you nailed it from start to finish. It just the character itself. Molded between the hard executive and the guy who could actually relate to the writer and producer and all the other stuff. But we need to talk Chicago Med. You're on the cast of Chicago Med, and Dr. Archer is moving up in the world. Let's start with what brought you onto this cast. What was appealing about this project?
I mean, well, first of all, the character that they wrote was really interesting. He's dark but efficient. I realized that in my own personal life, I had a relationship to a character like this who has terrible PTSD. My father, who's no longer with us, was a Korean War veteran, and I realized after having worked, and done some research that he was suffering from PTSD, and as is the character Dean Archer on Chicago Med. He saw a lot of action in Afghanistan when he was a naval surgeon working with Dr. Ethan Choi. And then later on, of course, Ethan brings Dean Archer onto the staff of the hospital as Dean's boss. But then, through a series of unfortunate events, Dean has now taken over the ED and is now going to, use his charm to run things his way. Charm is really not the most accurate description.
If you could sum up Dr. Archer by comparing to maybe another TV doctor, how would you describe Dr. Archer?
Better looking than George Clooney, and let's see, and more powerful than Dr. Stephen Strange. I guess he in many ways he's a very realistically drawn doctor because he has an ego, he has flaws, he has missteps, but also he has a passion for what he's doing. He's not completely bought and sold by certain companies that are looking to kind of franchise medicine. He still cares about people, but he has a military sensibility that sometimes gets in the way and is perceived by others as being uncaring. It's quite the opposite, but it's he's a flinty, sometimes troubled guy who is nonetheless very efficient at his job.
Less abrasive house, would that be accurate?
Maybe, I guess less abrasive, maybe more physically agile. I think, he's cut from a different cloth. He's definitely a guy that doesn't have a lot of polish in him, and he doesn't have a lot of wit. I would say that House was really witty, not in a funny sense, but sharp. This guy has been dulled in many ways by life, and is still searching for some meaning. He's searching to figure out how he fits in into all of it, and he finds meaning, through healing people. But even that is troublesome for him.
We got Steven Weber for a couple more minutes. He is Dr. Dean Archer on Chicago Med, which is going into its 7th season. Steven, to what do you attribute the longevity of this show? I mean, it's clearly showing repeated success.
I think Dick Wolf has the recipe down, as he's shown with all the Law and Order series and offshoots. Similarly, he knows what the public likes, and it's not dumb TV. It's realistic without getting too dark and revolting. I mean, it's entertainment is still escapism, even if it's gritty and realistic. I think this show has a wide appeal. I think the cast is diverse, and the writing has something to say. Not to mention all the stuff that kind of flies by people's perceptions. Meaning, the crew and the artistry and the direction and the carpentry, the electric, the lighting, the cameras, all that stuff. They just do it so well. It's a well-oiled machine, but they're not lazy about the kind of show that they want to produce, and people really love it.
Yeah, Dick Wolf has become like the Phil Jackson, the Bill Belichick of nighttime drama, to be sure. Hey, before we get you out of here, got to talk Wings for just a minute. I mean, this was such a legendary show, such an all-timer of a show. How much do you still get the accolades and the praise that came from being a part of Wings, which, gosh, I guess ended what, in 97, 98?
97.
Yeah.
Look, there's a certain age of a person who has seen it, who remembers it, who may be kind enough to mention it to me. The funny thing is that because of people's changing viewing habits, people are able to watch it now. They're able to binge watch seasons, and the children of the people who watched Wings originally are now watching it. So, it's still being seen, but look, it's playing in a landscape where there is so much product out there, and so much of which is great. So if people choose to remember shows in the way back 1990s, and they have a favorable opinion of Wings, that's fantastic.
All right, I got to ask you about the likelihood of a reboot. If we can get a Fuller House, can we not get a Re-Wings?
Re-Wings. Hot Wings. I don't know. we've all aged substantially, especially Tim Daly. He's no longer the handsomest man in North America. He's no, I think handsome. I look. Obviously, I'd be interested in it. It has to do with whether people think that money can be made from it. To be perfectly frank, but
Sure.
yeah, I think people would enjoy it, and maybe there'd be a good updating. Who knows? Who knows what has happened to these beloved characters?
Oh, well, yeah, we all need updates on Brian, on Lowell, on Antonio Scarpacci, and the like. In the meanwhile, he is Steven Weber. You can catch him on Chicago Med. I believe you're back on September 22nd, correct?
Correct.
Season 7 coming your way. Steven, thank you so much for the time, man. It was a great privilege having you on.
Oh, thank you. Great speaking with you.
That was fun. Fun to check in with Steven Weber. And yeah, look, I'm 44, so I'm right in that demographic he was talking about that remembers Wings. If you're running down a top 5 of what ran the 90s when it came to the sitcom, Wings is always going to be in the top 5 to me. And lived in syndication for the longest time on USA as well. I'd like to see a reboot, for sure. I mean, I don't know if Netflix and Hulu are done with that whole, posting up Fuller Houses type of things, but if they're not done, Wings would fall right into that category. All right, 852 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. We blew right past your money now, not to worry. We'll get caught up with one more check of traffic and then close things out on Talk 107.3.
Have a brew and help your zoo. On October 1st, get ready to experience Brew at the Zoo 2021. Backed by popular demand, we're offering VIP tickets that include early access,
Do what?
express check-in, VIP zone, exclusive food, and drinks. This flagship craft beer event boasts live music, ambassador animals, and food tastings from a multitude of scrumptious eateries. Hurry, Brew at the Zoo sells out every single year. Visit brzoobrewing.org to get your tickets to our 7th annual event today.
Planning to travel internationally? At Patient Plus Urgent Care, we have the required COVID testing for most countries, with the results in 8 to
Byron, why am I checking out Creep Show on AMC tonight? I have a feeling there's more to that story.
Dreams are important. They're also easy to set aside during hard times. At Hancock Whitney, we look out for your dreams when you can. So keep dreaming. We've got your back. Learn more at HancockWhitney.com or stop by a financial center. Hancock Whitney Bank. Member FDIC.
Why are massages at the relaxation company so special? Because they're licensed massage therapists from here, like owner Jennifer DeLush. Relaxation company at Pelican Point and coming soon to Baton Rouge.
You know what I love about this time of year? The 3 F's. Fall, football, and fishing. That's why don't you take your fishing game to the next level with our friends at Front to Back Boats.
There you go. Whoa. I'm a huge Molly Ringwald fan. Still, to this day. Molly Ringwald. Huge star in the 80s. Part of the Brat Pack. 16 Candles, Pretty in Pink.
Wait, she's a redhead girl?
Yeah. She is the redhead girl. All right. I'm in then.
It's any consolation for my 80s-ness. Me and my friends in high school dressed up as the Breakfast Club.
There you go. Breakfast Club was also Molly Ringwald. Claire.
Just because Emilio Estevez's character, I forget his name.
Thought it was Brian. No, Brian was the nerd. Never mind. Andrew. Yeah. Andrew Clark. Yeah. Okay. Mm. 856 Talk 1073 FM WBRP. One more segment to go here on Mornings with Brian Haldane. Thanks again to everybody who's hopped on board today. I mean, a full list. We had Stephen Weber there. We talked with Toastmasters. We talked with State Representative Valorie Hodges and had to push pause in that conversation. We're going to rejoin that at a later date because there's still a lot of ground to cover and still a lot of unanswered questions when it comes to where we're headed with COVID-19, vaccine mandates, and the like. Thanks again to Jamie Godan Fowler from Our Lady of the Lake or from the PACE Center. Thanks to Stephen Wagasback, David Aguillard, and, of course, Richard Condon for hopping on board as well. If you missed anything, it's all available on demand or will be available on demand after the show at talk1073.com. You know, we're talking about Reboot of Wings, and Byron, who comments on our YouTube page, which, by the way, the show's live on YouTube every day, and we don't really take breaks. Well, we very, very interactive during the breaks. But Byron says, speaking of acting, check out Creep Show on AMC tonight at 9. His daughter's going to be in it along with Molly Ringwald. So, Creep Show, AMC tonight at 9, when Monday Night Football gets boring, right? We'll check it out. Not a whole lot of time left before we get out of here. I can tease a little bit about tomorrow's show. We are going to talk with the Baton Rouge Area Chamber tomorrow, and actually, you know what, the rest I don't want to tease because it's not confirmed yet. Hey, before we do get out of here, Talk 1073 FM is giving you a chance to enjoy a true Louisiana staycation on us at either the Renaissance or Watermark Hotels. Simply take our staycation survey at talk1073.com. You'll be instantly registered for one of two staycations each month at the Watermark or the Renaissance. We'll draw for 2 winners a month, on one on this show, one on the Jada Cody Show. It's a staycation with the Watermark and Renaissance Hotels at talk1073.com, the new flavor of talk. By the way, our August winners for the Watermark was Angelique Holtman, and for the Renaissance was Donna Montanino. Keep that going. And we'll take the little survey over at talk1073.com. All right, one of the things we're going to be diving into tomorrow is there's a new model by LSU researchers that could help predict Gulf of Mexico hurricanes. Very, very intrigued by this story. That being said, though, they're already going to be in the Gulf of Mexico, which we've seen this hurricane season already, that gets to be problematic because they get right on top of us before we have a chance to be ready for them. That was one of the biggest problems with Ida, was the time frame. We didn't have that long, 10 to 11 day ramp up before it got here. So that'll be on the docket for tomorrow. I believe we're connecting with Jeff Landry tomorrow as well. All right. We got to get out of here. We've got CBS News coming your way. We've got the Fox News Rundown coming your way. Brian Kilmeade. Oh, hey, do y'all watch Impractical Jokers? Murr is on with Kilmeade today. James Murray from Impractical Jokers. He's got a new book out. Kilmeade's going to talk with him, along with a number of other topics as well. That's all coming your way. Don't forget Jada Cody, 4 to 6 this afternoon. We got to get out of here. Thank y'all so much for listening. We'll see you tomorrow. All right. YouTube, I got to bail quickly on Mondays because we have our Monday morning meetings, so thank y'all for watching.